On a gorgeous desert night, the flags, well, they blow towards the major leagues from Surprise, Arizona, where some of the great names in the game, like Yonder Alonso, Buster Posey, all get together. It's the Rising Stars game, the Arizona Fall League, yet it's still just baseball. A gorgeous night in the heart of Arizona. The Major League Baseball Network presents the Arizona Fall League and its Rising Stars. East meets West in the Rising Stars game here at Surprise Stadium, about a half hour northwest of Phoenix, Arizona. We do feel like kids again because it is just baseball and a gorgeous night to play this game. Hello there, folks, and welcome back to the ballpark. Tony Clark, 15 years in the major leagues. He now joins us up here in the broadcast booth. Glad to have him. My name is Darren Sutton. Glad to introduce myself to all of you. Tony, this has to be a lot of fun. You now transition a very successful major leaguer to now a successful major league broadcaster.
Brother, I'm excited. I was giddy last night just thinking about coming out here and seeing these young ball players, talented young ball players, knocking on the major league door, giving themselves an opportunity to be on that starting team coming out of spring training.
You were this guy 15 years ago, no doubt about it. The Fall League, though, it's changed a little bit since you played in the Fall League in '94.
It's changed quite a bit. Back in '94, there were only a handful of us here that were just simply playing, and you only had scouts in the stands, it seems like. But nowadays, the talent is off the charts, top to bottom, and you've got a lot of people here very interested in what's going on in Arizona.
These are the players that are eligible. These are the players that Tony is talking about. Of course, AA, AAA, you can have a handful of single-A players as well. Now, if you played in the big leagues like Brandon Allen, as we take a look on to the next page, Allen is a guy that had some service time, but you can't have too much of it, simply put. The one thing we do know, Tony, and we will see it, of course, with guys like Tommy Hanson of the Atlanta Braves, there will be a handful of players that play in this game tonight that will be playing in the major leagues very soon.
No, there's no doubt about it, and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, knocking on that door, leaving spring training. You're talking about 5 guys right there who gave themselves an opportunity performing here in the Fall League to leave with that big league team in spring training, and even if they didn't break, a couple months later they were in the big leagues making unbelievable contributions.
This guy could be here on opening day, Stephen Strasburg. He will not start tonight. Little tweak in the neck, and I'm sure a lot of Washington fans are very disappointed about that. He's been electric. He's hit triple digits. What can Nats fans, what can the National League expect from this young man in the future?
Well, I think the exciting thing for him right now is just to watch his progression. You see his last 2 starts there, 4 1/3, 5 innings, threw the ball extremely well. Throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour is great. Being able to throw an off-speed pitch or 2 for a strike, even more, or put you in a better position to be successful. So I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do, being that #1 overall pick. Washington's counting on him. Major League Baseball is counting on him. He's got a lot of pressure, but the one thing is, when he gets on that bump, everything is good.
One director of scouting told me this is as deep as the Fall League has ever been, so it's time to move along for Mr. Strasburg. He doesn't work tonight, but Buster Posey, who may be taking over for Bengie Molina behind the plate in San Francisco, drafted a few years back, he gets a chance to play this evening.
Well, again, you're talking about a young man taking an opportunity and running with it. He had an outstanding year this year in the minor leagues. He had an opportunity at the end of the year to come up and play behind Bengie and kind of watch a team in the pennant race. It's been an absolute blast to watch his progression so far.
I've already picked a favorite guy. His name's Dustin Ackley, a beautiful and pure swing. The top hitter taken overall, picked second behind Strasburg in the draft, picked by Seattle.
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to watching him in person. I've seen the tape, I've seen his swings. They don't get too much prettier, so having an opportunity to watch him in BP today, I'm real anxious to see what he does come game time.
His dad said he's never allowed to pull the baseball when he was a young man, a very pure hitter. Well, Tony Clark, the big leaguer, becomes Tony Clark, the major league analyst tonight. You will enjoy all of it. These young men, so very talented. A gorgeous night for baseball. Starting lineups right around the corner from Surprise, Arizona. Back in Surprise, Arizona, we've already told you how you earn a spot to play, of course, in the Arizona Fall League, the Rising Stars game. I want to quickly remind you, there are 6 teams that play in this league, and some fun names that fit the area topographically and maybe with regard to the animals in the area as well. The Phoenix Desert Dogs, the Mesa Solar Sox, and the Scottsdale Scorpions, they make up the Eastern Division. Peoria has a couple of teams, the Javelinos and the Saguaros, and then here in Surprise, the Surprise Rafters. Let's get it on right on over to our public address announcer tonight. Let's meet these young men. Bill Cloder, the PA announcer, will take it from here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the third base line and welcome the support staff, coaching staff, and reserves from the Arizona Fall League East Division Rising Stars. Trainers, Atsushi Torita from the Washington Nationals and Pat Wesley from the Baltimore Orioles. From the Oakland Athletics, hitting coach Brian McArn. From the Baltimore Orioles, hitting coach Mo Hill. From the Tampa Bay Rays, pitching coach R.C. Lichtenstein. From the Washington Nationals, pitching coach Paul Menhart. From the Baltimore Orioles and the Phoenix Desert Dogs, pitcher Brandon Irby. From the Boston Red Sox and the Mesa Solar Sox, infielder Jose Iglesias and pitcher Dustin Richardson. From the Chicago Cubs and the Mesa Solar Sox, pitchers Andrew Kashner and Blake Parker. From the Colorado Rockies and Scottsdale Scorpions, pitchers Andrew Johnston and Matt Reynolds. From the Florida Marlins and Mesa Solar Sox, outfielder Brian Peterson. From the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and Mesa Solar Sox, catcher Hank Conger. From the Minnesota Twins and the Mesa Solar Sox, outfielder Rene Tosoni. From the Pittsburgh Pirates and Scottsdale Scorpions, infielder Chase Diarno. And pitcher Danny Moskos. From the Tampa Bay Rays and the Phoenix Desert Dogs, pitcher Matt Gorgon. From the Toronto Blue Jays and Phoenix Desert Dogs, pitcher Rydier Gonzalez. From the Yomiuri Giants in Japan and Scottsdale Scorpions, pitcher Toru Murata. From the Washington Nationals and Phoenix Desert Dogs, pitchers Drew Storen and Josh Wilkie. Now heading to home plate from the Toronto Blue Jays, Phoenix Desert Dogs manager Gary Cathcart. Now let's welcome the East Division Rising Stars starting lineup. Batting leadoff from the Pittsburgh Pirates, Scottsdale Scorpions center fielder Jose Tabata. Batting second from the Chicago Cubs, Mesa Solar Sox shortstop Starlin Castro. Batting third from the Baltimore Orioles, Phoenix Desert Dogs designated hitter Brandon Snyder. Batting cleanup from the Oakland Athletics, Phoenix Desert Dogs left fielder Grant Desmey. Batting fifth from the Arizona Diamondbacks, Scottsdale Scorpions first baseman Brandon Allen. Batting sixth from the San Francisco Giants. Now in the East Division bullpen is Scottsdale Scorpions catcher Buster Posey. Batting seventh from the Philadelphia Phillies, Scottsdale Scorpions right fielder Dominic Brown. Batting eighth, the Baltimore Orioles, Phoenix Desert Dogs third baseman Josh Bell. And batting ninth from the Oakland Athletics, Phoenix Desert Dogs second baseman Jamiel Weeks. And warming up in the East Division bullpen from the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, tonight's starting pitcher from the Mesa Solar Sox, Tommy Mendoza.
So you've met one side, about to meet another. Certainly the beginning of the Fall League. We've talked about that in Will. In 1992, longtime legendary Major League Baseball executive and general manager Roland Hemon, who now has a role with the Arizona Diamondbacks as an assistant to the top of the front office there with CEO Derek Hall. But Roland Hemon put these players together, the architect creating a 6-week offseason league for the top prospects, and he's found it. Now let's meet the other side.
The Arizona Fall League West Division Rising Stars. Trainers Yosuke Yakajima from the Los Angeles Dodgers and Matt Toth from the Seattle Mariners. From the Chicago White Sox, hitting coach Gary Ward. And in the bullpen from the Milwaukee Brewers, pitching coach Fred Dabney. From the Atlanta Braves and Peoria Saguaros, infielder Brandon Hicks. pitcher Greg Kimbrell. From the Cincinnati Reds, Peoria Saguaros, and Arizona State University, pitcher Mike Leake. From the Cleveland Indians and Peoria Saguaros, catcher Mac McBride, infielder Carlos Rivero. From the Detroit Tigers and Peoria Javelinas, pitcher Andrew Oliver, and outfielder Casper Wells. From the Los Angeles Dodgers and Peoria Javelinas, pitcher Javi Guerra. From the Milwaukee Brewers and Peoria Javelinas, pitcher Mark Rogers. From the New York Mets, Surprise Rafters, and Arizona State University, infielder Ike Davis. From the New York Yankees and Surprise Rafters, pitcher Michael Dunn. From the Seattle Mariners and Peoria Javelinas, pitchers Felipe Almond and Josh Fields. From the Texas Rangers and Surprise Rafters, pitchers Danny Gutierrez and Tanner Schweppers. And now heading to home plate from the Detroit Tigers, Peoria Javelinas manager Kevin Bradshaw. Please welcome tonight's starting lineup for the West Division Rising Stars. Batting leadoff from the Seattle Mariners, Peoria Javelinas center fielder Dustin Ackley. Batting second from the Chicago White Sox, Peoria Javelinas right fielder Jordan Danks. Batting third from the Kansas City Royals, Surprise Rafters third baseman Mike Moustakas. Batting cleanup from the Cincinnati Reds, Peoria Saguaros left fielder Chris Heisey. Batting fifth from the Cincinnati Reds, Peoria Saguaros first baseman Yonder Alonso. Batting sixth from the St. Louis Cardinals and Surprise Rafters designated hitter Darrell Jones. Batting seventh from the San Diego Padres, Peoria Saguaros second baseman Lance Sawitsky. Batting eighth, the Houston Astros, and in the West Division bullpen, Peoria Saguaros catcher Jason Castro. Batting ninth from the Seattle Mariners, Peoria Javelinas shortstop Carlos Truenfeld. And warming up in the West Division bullpen from the Atlanta Braves, tonight's starting pitcher from the Peoria Saguaros, Mike Minor. And those are your 2009 Rising Stars lineups.
The best young talent in all of baseball on display. The Rising Stars game from Surprise, Arizona is right after this on the MLB Network. It is a beautiful night in the desert just outside of Phoenix, Arizona. Surprise Stadium. The Arizona Fall League presents East versus West. It's the Rising Stars game tonight on the MLB Network. A lot of these guys could be in the big leagues in your hometown next season. Hello there, folks, and welcome back to the ballpark. A decade and a half in the big leagues. He is Tony Clark. My name is Darren Sutton. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Tony, certainly we talk about the talent level on display. You're talking about all-stars. You're talking about MVPs, Cy Young Award winners. Nearly 60% of the 3,000 players that have played here have made it to the major leagues.
That's what's amazing to me. When I saw that number and the realization that 6 out of every 10 guys that are on the field are going to be in the big leagues at some point in time is pretty exciting as an observer.
And tonight we get a chance to see not Steven Strasburg, the #1 pick overall, but some very deep rosters. Matter of fact, one scouting director told me this is the deepest the fall league's ever been.
Well, you got a little bit of everything. You've got power pitching, you've got control pitchers, you've got power at the plate, you've got guys who hit for average, you've got guys who have great speed. The combination platter is outstanding for tonight's game.
And it's a unique mix as we talk about guys that might be in the big leagues next year that have been in pro ball for a couple of years, and young men like Dustin Ackley, who was the #2 pick overall, guys that are jumping from the draft, maybe signing late and coming right here to Arizona.
Again, it's an opportunity. These guys want to see what these guys can do in a professional atmosphere with other guys that have been playing for a while. So to watch their success tonight is very important.
They take the diamond, and of course they have played not only on this stage in Arizona, but the world stage, and played very, very well. A gold medal in the World Cup. Lucas May, Ike Davis, he might be the Mets first baseman next year. Jason Castro. These are guys in the Arizona Fall League. It's a great experience. Buster Posey knows what it's all about. He's getting ready to be the Giants catcher next season. He knows the challenges here in Arizona.
You know, I like being involved with each play. You know, shortstop, you might get 2 balls a game or 10 or 0. So at least with catching, you know, you're going to be involved each play and, you know, just building that relationship with the pitcher and trying to get on the same page with them. I mean, I think you just look at the, you know, some of the past players that have been here. What are the ones? I mean, you look at Gordon Beckham last year, who was here and had a great rookie season. And, you know, if you're a fan of the game, you're going to get a chance to see some great young talent.
And what a wonderful opportunity it is. And Posey was a young man at Florida State who was a pitcher and a shortstop, now a catcher. That first answer he gave was speaking to what he could learn here in the Fall League as a catcher. As the left-hander Mike Minor gets ready to go, let's take a look at the starting lineup that he will face. And first of all, we take a look at the east side. Jose Tabata could be roaming right field very soon in Pittsburgh. Starlin Castro right behind Brandon Starter. And then, of course, Brandon Allen jumping on down behind Snyder and Desme. Buster Posey, we mentioned him. Dominic Brown, I can't wait to hear Tony talk about a conversation he had with a young Philadelphia Philly, very talented. Josh Bell is with Baltimore. Jemile Weeks is a young man who is with the Oakland A's. 1 through 9 for the East against the left-hander, the 21-year-old, talking about Mike Minor, tall, lanky left-hander, and he gets a chance. We look at him tonight. What do we know about him, Tony Clark?
Well, I tell you what, here's a big guy, big lefty, somebody that has done an outstanding job throughout the course of this season, that coming out and throwing tonight and in this Fall League, if he continues to have the success he's having, we're going to see him very soon.
Jose Tabata to lead things off. Young man out of Venezuela. Bats right, throws right. We're underway here in Surprise with strike one. Tabata signed with the Yankees at 16 years old. Was involved in 2008 in a trade that sent ex-Nady and Damaso Marte to the New York Yankees. On the ground, surrounding it, gobbling it up. And the speed is on display. Truenfeld, the shortstop, unloads, but not in time. A base hit.
I tell you what, I had a conversation with one of the Pittsburgh Pirates scouts earlier today and asked him about Tabata, and one of the first things he said was how athletic he was. So it's not surprising there on a tough play made by the shortstop that he was able to leg that thing out for an infield hit.
Starlin Castro is next. He plays for the Chicago Cubs, the Mesa representative here in the Fall League. 19 years old, right-handed batter, throws right as well. Young man signed out of Monte Cristi in the Dominican Republic. Signed as a free agent. Scout Jose Sierra back in 2006.
I tell you what,
pitch is low.
I don't know about you, but at 19 years old, there were a lot of other things I was thinking about doing as opposed to being in a league that's this talented and being this close to the big leagues.
And again, too, we talk about this a lot, but it never gets old. It's also not only playing at this level, being this young, but doing it not in working in your native tongue. You're not a young man that can speak English. Yet his bat broke in there, but he dumps it into shallow center field. Over the head of Zawatsky, and it's a base hit. The throw is errant, but right there to make the play is Jason Castro behind home plate. So a broken bat, base hit, an infield hit for Tabata. Castro broke his bat. Neither ball hit hard, but a couple of runners on.
Well, I tell you what, it's not always how hard you hit it, but where you hit it. In both those occasions, you're sitting with guys on first and second here. Ball gets in. He does an outstanding job of fighting it off and just gets it beyond the glove of the second baseman. Having an opportunity now with nobody on and men on first and second puts a little pressure on that guy on the bump.
Brandon Snyder, as you can see, Zawatsky unable to get to that ball. Snyder, right-handed batter against the lefty here, Mike Minor. Minor #1 pick this year for the Atlanta organization out of Vanderbilt, 7th pick overall. And he is, as that one misses away, one of those players that didn't play at all in the minor leagues, signed late. So this is his first taste, Minor, of pro ball.
I tell you what, it makes it real interesting, too, playing at this level. I mean, you're talking about something that's AA, AAA caliber right out of the gate.
Right back to the screen. Do you remember when you played in the Fall League, anybody, let alone a handful of players, anybody that had just gotten drafted?
No, it didn't happen like that. You know, nowadays, the dynamic is a little bit different, but back then, guys were signing a little bit earlier, were going ahead and trying to get their feet wet in the minor leagues so that when they got to this level against this type of talent, they were a little bit more prepared.
1-1 the count, a couple of runners on. That one dives down and in from the left-hander Minor. Minor last year pitching for a collegiate team, United States Baseball, had 6 starts, a .75 ERA. He beat Cuba 2 times last year.
I tell you what, that says a lot. That says a lot against a Cuban team. A very talented Cuban team, year in and year out. To have that type of success says a lot about the ability this young man has on the hill.
Snyder, 22 years old. Well, there are some talented players for this Baltimore system. Some recent trades in the last couple of years, and guys like Josh Bell, you see Brandon Snyder, they're on display in this fall league. Reason to be excited on the Eastern Seaboard. A little bit late on that fastball as he reaches back and gets 91 miles an hour.
I tell you what, 91 is obviously a very good fastball, but having an opportunity from the left side to hide the ball the way Minor does as a hitter standing at the plate, it seems a whole lot harder than 91. That's why you see guys getting jammed, especially the first 2 guys, and right here a situation where he's been behind a couple of fastballs and hitters counts.
Full count. They play behind the runner at first, and that one again late on the fastball, and into the seats it goes. Snyder here in the fall league hitting .355 in 16 games. He has 18 runs batted in.
I know we talked earlier about being better prepared for this type of level of competition, but I tell you what, he seems to be handling it just fine.
A little bit older now. This is a young man instead of a guy that was just drafted. He was playing in AA and then AAA Norfolk this year. Busy playing 131 games at the higher levels, not in college. 3-2 laser beam into the seats late on that one.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference being able to get those at bats down in the minor leagues, get used to the bus rides, getting used to the hotels, getting used to that whole dynamic. Being away from home a lot of times is a big transition for guys. So going through all of that, being able to still come out to the ballpark and perform, you tip your hat to these young ball players.
And we're seeing more folks, by the way, at this ballpark starting to file in to see these young men play. We're going to get about 5,000 people in attendance, maybe more. Another 3-2 high fly ball, right center field. Ackley closing the gap. That one carries all the way to the base of the wall. Tagging and heading to third is Tabata. Boy, the air gets thick very quickly, and yet that one had some carry. Let's take a look at the defense that works behind Minor. You saw Dustin Ackley in center field a moment ago. Chris Heisey is off to his right. Jordan Danks on the other side. Moustakas, Truenfeld, Zawadzki, and Yonder Alonso. A lot to be said about this young man. Jason Castro is behind home plate for the West. The defensive alignment. It's not supposed to go that far, not at this time of night.
I tell you what, though, the thing I liked about his approach is he never sped himself up too much. He kept fouling those fastballs off late. Gave himself an opportunity that if you're having to move that thing a little bit further out in front, to drive that thing to the wall in the gap. That was nice to see.
Remember the Oakland A's and the Phoenix squad here. Grant Desmey, and he's over the top of a changeup. And Desmey, spectacular fall league, but I can't get to that yet. I have to tell you what he did this season. Playing in a couple of stops in A-ball, Kane County and Stockton. He homered 31 times. You see what he's done in the fall league. He stole 40 bases. He went 30-40 this season. Now look what he's doing in the fall league.
I tell you what, they don't make too many guys like that. And I was very excited to close play over there at first base on the pickoff. I was very excited coming out here today to see the guy who's putting up all these crooked numbers. 30 plus home runs, 40 stolen bases. That combination of power and speed you don't see very often.
The 10 homers in the fall league, twice as many as any other hitter in the league. That one's down off the end of the bat. He dumps that one in there. Yet another RBI. And a run crosses the plate. The East leads it by a score of 1-0.
Against the situation where, hitting it hard is great, but hitting it where they ain't with a guy in scoring position especially is fantastic. And again, he's done an outstanding job all fall league, all season long, and continues here having success at getting guys across the plate.
Wonderful opportunity now for, as you see Tabata score, and you hear the cheers. This is the hometown player. Brandon Allen plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tabata scoring the first run for the East. And in this fall league, this is one of the things he has been asked to work on. It's been a tough go, and that's a left-handed power hitter to handle left-handed pitching. We can say it up here in the booth. It's very easy to say. It's a lot tougher to do.
No, there's no doubt about it. I tell you what, I took BP left-handed off a left-hander one time, and as a switch hitter, I didn't like it at all. So getting in the batter's box and having to work your way against this type of quality of pitching and from the left side is something that is a progression for everybody.
Hitting just 162. He does lead the league in walks. He gives that one a ride. Well struck center field. Ackley going back to the track, to the wall, and it's out of here for Brandon Allen.
He seems to be adjusting just fine, Seth. Outstanding job of staying on that fastball right there and hitting it to the big part of the ballpark.
Now, how good does that feel? Again, he has struggled mightily. He has earned his walks, but he hasn't done what he wants to do, and that's drive-in runs.
Well, he's capable. It's not a matter of not being capable, especially with Brandon. He had an outstanding year in AAA, came up and got his feet wet in the big leagues. You know, this is an extension of his season right here, so he's getting more at-bats than he's ever gotten before. Being able to put together a solid at-bat there, get something to show for it, push 3 runs across the quick way, very good for BA.
The East leads it now by a score of 4-0. They want Brandon, they said, to work on pitch recognition. He recognized that one just fine.
I tell you what, pitch out of the ballparkedness is what he continues to keep working on. He's going to be just fine.
All smiles, a young man out of Conroe, Texas, traded from the White Sox organization to the Diamondbacks during the season. Buster Posey reaches out on a changeup and tops that one foul at the third base line.
You know, it could be a very big trade for Arizona. You're talking about a young man that they feel can be a huge part of their future over there at first base, solidifying that position for years to come. So you trade away a reliever in Tony Pena, but you're able to bring back a first baseman that hopefully can lock that position down for a long time.
Back in 2004, 5th-round draft pick Allen of the White Sox. As Posey looks at that breaking ball, bounces in there in the dirt. And then there's Buster Posey. Talented young player. Golden Spikes winner in 2008, the best player in all of college baseball. Went to Florida State. He could have gotten an academic scholarship, but he earned his way as a baseball player. Athletic scholarship. Was a shortstop. Well, he's about to be a major league catcher.
I tell you what, that hitting as a shortstop, hitting on your point as a shortstop, you got a guy who's an athlete who's behind the plate. Makes a huge difference as opposed to trying to put a guy back there that doesn't move real well. Here's a guy that can do it all offensively and defensively.
His club leads it 4-0 on the ground. What a pretty piece of hitting. Zawadsky tried to give a little flip and get some help there. Posey just taking it exactly where it was pitched, earning himself a base hit. And Zawadsky, a fine effort, but came up empty.
He did an outstanding job even knocking that ball down. He tried to pirouette there and get something on it on a throw to first, and the ball slipped out of his hand. But he did an outstanding job of cutting this thing off. I thought it was up the middle when it came off of Buster's bat.
Got it, Nick. You got it, Nick. Got it, Nick. Got it, kid.
I tell you what, he holds on to this thing coming out of his glove, and he might have a play at first base.
So a visit to the mound. Pitching coach Fred Dabney is there to have a conversation with the Brewers organization out helping. All right, we have a moment. There's a tall, lanky hitter getting ready to dig into the box. He's about 6'6", 6'7". He reminds me of a young Tony Clark. Tall, lanky, the world ahead of him. I know you saw yourself in his eyes about 15, 16 years ago, didn't you?
Well, I tell you what, I smiled ear to ear when I saw Dom walking over to us up behind the cage there.
Hot shot, that'll make him smile. Hold that thought as that one rolls. Dies out there on that moist grass. Come on down, they say. Now they stop Posey at the last minute. So that's a double. Tall, lanky, gifted, talented. Could have been a college wide receiver. The floor is yours to speak on this young man.
That's what I was going to say. He's a rare find. You don't find guys at 6'5", 6'6", as athletic as he is, that decide to choose baseball over basketball or football. And when I asked him about that, he was grinning ear to ear talking about how excited he was to have the opportunity to play baseball. And his tools in the outfield, you're talking about a guy who can absolutely fly. He's got some pop. There are a lot of things that he can do in this game, and I simply pray that he stays healthy and is able to realize his goals.
Handled lefties very well this year. In fact, better than he handled righties, and that's a stunner to me. A mile high off the bat of Josh Bell, former Dodger, right in that George Sherrill trade. Everybody tagging up, so the throw, and a very good one, is to third. And another run scores. Posey scores easily. You can give Bell an RBI. The East leads the West by a score of 5-0 here in the top of the first inning.
Josh is another guy. I got an opportunity to talk to him. I watched him swing the bat from the left side of the plate, and then saw him jump over to the right side. And obviously, you know that I have a place in my heart for switch hitters, especially ones that drive the ball the way he does. And here's a situation in this at bat. He just got something up out of the plate, hit it to the outfield, got that run in, got that sacrifice fly, and kept this line moving. But Josh, I'm excited to see the things that he's going to do going forward too. Because obviously he's a good ball player, but more importantly, because he's a switch hitter.
I saw there was a smile in that face, certainly, as he came across. Dominic as well smiled to meet you, and it was fun to see that. Jemile Weeks, foul ball just down the line. The younger brother of the Milwaukee Brewers, second baseman Ricky Weeks.
I'll tell you what, these young men are coming to the plate looking for something they can do something with and are putting swings on it. It's going to be very interesting to see if any adjustments are made with Mr. Minor on the hill to try and slow these guys down a little bit.
And just foul. The most runs in an inning in Rising Stars game history. 4 runs in the top of the second back in 08. You folks, you know you love offense. That's why you tuned in. Fastball runs in. Weeks out of high school was drafted by his brother's club, the Brewers, but then went on to play at Miami and played very successfully. And here he is now, first round pick back in 2007.
Well, he's another rare find. It's not very often you find a guy who's got speed, does have some power. But the big thing with Mr. Weeks is his ability to work that glove at second base. You're talking about somebody who has all the combinations of athleticism and power at the plate, but his ability to play defense is above par as well.
He and his brother both drafted in the first round. There's a local product out here that everyone knows about. His name, I think you've heard of him, Justin Upton. He and his brother, B.J. Upton, were like the Weeks brothers, both first-round picks as well. Another great athletic family.
You don't teach that. You just don't teach that.
Runner at third, and the pitch is high. Weeks grew up in Orlando, as we mentioned, went to Miami. And the stolen base total's coming up a little bit more than what he was able to do during the season. Has 5 stolen bases in 14 games here in the fall league. There might be a reason for that. As he takes high, that's ball 4. One of the reasons might be his legs are healthy, and he has had some intermittent problems with his legs. The other one is, well, he spent some time working with one Mr. Ricky Henderson, and pretty good guy to learn from if you want to work on stealing bases.
No, there's no doubt about it. Stealing, I wasn't a stolen base threat, but enough of the guys that I've talked to, you know, stealing bases there's an art to it. It's not just being fast. Being able to get out on the base pass, recognizing what pitchers are doing, situations, when to go, when not to go. You know, all those things come into play. So the fact that Mr. Weeks has the ability to do what he's doing with respect to his speed, being able to combine that with an understanding of what he needs to do and when he needs to do it when he gets on the base pass is going to contribute to him having his stolen base totals go up.
Former Georgia Bulldog Josh Fields pitches for the Peoria club, the Javelinas, and for the Seattle Mariners organization. And they're well aware that's what speed does right there. And a real tough inning for Minor. Weeks races all the way around on the throwing error. Another run obviously scores to make it 6-0. That's what speed will do.
There's no doubt about it. Having a guy on first base you know you can run, or know that can run, and you're trying to break up the rhythm of the guys at the plate who seem to be swinging the bat well this inning, and all things being told, the ball gets away and another run comes across. It's a tough inning. It's a tough stretch, and obviously the speed can make you uncomfortable. All the while you're simply trying to find a way to get that third out and get your team back in the dugout.
What? You look at that play. You played that position. A ball that Alonso might tell you could have caught that baseball.
Yeah, I have a feeling it was something that caught him a little off guard. Maybe how hard it was thrown.
That one on the ground and under the glove of Zawadsky, and as you said, very much so finding holes. It is another run, 7-0. The East leads it. They ruled out a base hit, so Tabata 2 hits here in the first inning.
Yeah, again, you don't see it very often, and I see KB coming out to give this guy a break here. You know, these guys are doing an outstanding job. They're coming to the plate, being aggressive on balls out over the plate. Mr. Minor was able to move some feet there a little bit in the middle at bats for the guys that were there. But all in all, these guys are coming to the plate and executing their game plan pretty well.
Tough outing for Mike Minor. Back to Surprise right after this. Seven to nothing the score. And pitchers beware. And the boys from the East, Phoenix and Mesa and Scottsdale, rolling out of the gates. Because of that, chased from the ball game, Mike Minor, he gives way to a talented, hard-throwing young closer out of the University of Georgia. Josh Fields takes over. Born in Athens, Georgia, this year bumped right up to AA, where his ERA was about 6.5. He's pitched very successfully in the fall league, and it is all about an electric arm with this young man. Fastball, as we were saying, is high. 1-0 the count.
Well, I tell you what, you look up and you see the gun at 91, but you can tell if you're here at the ballpark that this ball is jumping out of this young man's hands. It's a little bit different than most.
Plus velocity, the scouts saying a great 12-6 if you're looking at a clock. 12-6 curveball. That's a fastball, though. Castro, high fly to right field. Folks, it comes to an end. The East, they kicked the extra point, and they lead it 7-0. Now the West tries to defend their turf, and this is how they do it. We talked about the #2 overall pick, Dustin Ackley. A totally different story, and Chris Heisey won. We look forward to telling you. Jason Castro down at the bottom, the fine catcher, as we take a look at the entire lineup. Castro, of course, catching for the Houston Astros organization. And on the mound, Tommy Mendoza. Now, Mendoza in place of Steven Strasburg. Strasburg, 100 miles an hour, #1 pick overall, hard thrower. Mendoza couldn't be more different, could he?
He's a pitcher. You know, here's somebody who's not going to overpower you when he gets on the mound, but he's able to execute and locate a handful of pitches that give him an opportunity to be successful every time he steps out there.
Command is what he is all about as he just misses away. 2-0 the count to Dustin Ackley.
I'll tell you what, the one thing we did talk about was a long break between him coming out of the bullpen and stepping out on his mound. It's going to be interesting to see a control guy if he has a hard time executing what he wants to do because of that long break in between.
Well, it's a great point. You warm up, you get all excited, you're ready, your energy's going, and you sit for a half hour. Fires a strike over the outside corner to Dustin Ackley, #2 overall pick, hit .412 with 22 homers for North Carolina this year, a .410 career hitter.
That's amazing. You said this year.
This year, my friend.
Year.
That's what we were talking about earlier. That's where this league has changed. Ackley, a great story. Started out slowly in the fall league, not because of the transition aluminum to wood that you might think. It's not that he lost power. He's just a pure hitter, and he had to adapt and learn how to hit those line drives to left that he hits with a wood bat instead of an aluminum bat.
It makes a big difference. That aluminum bat is a completely different feel, and here's a guy having not played professional ball before getting here, didn't have that adjustment period to get acclimated.
Jordan Danks takes high, 1-0 the count. You've heard of John Danks, who pitches in the big leagues for the Chicago White Sox. This young man playing for the Peoria club, one of the Peoria clubs, the Javelinas. Outfielder playing right field tonight, played a lot of center field this year in a couple of stops in Birmingham and Winston-Salem as he takes high, 2-0 the count.
I'll tell you what, it must be some kind of exciting to have your brother and be in the same organization with the possibility at some point down the line of actually playing together. I know we talked about the Uptons and we talked about the Weekses. It's got to be pretty cool to have that type of opportunity.
High fly left, sending back. Grant Desme shy of the track. He makes the play for the out. One of 8 that are working busily, hoping to get it done. Behind the contact picture, Mendoza. Tabata, we saw him racing around. A couple of at-bats. Dominic Brown, the tall, lanky Phillies right fielder. It's Josh Bell at third. Castro is at shortstop, and a gifted young Cub shortstop. Weeks of the A's. Snyder, of course, at first base of the Baltimore Orioles, and Buster Posey could be working at AT&T Park this summer in San Francisco. It's a big kid. They call him the Moose, Mike Moustakas. Thinking there's a little bit of Greek in his background as he takes a pitch that dives away.
Tell you what, there are a lot of big kids out here. I don't know how they're growing them quicker, or eating, drinking better. I don't know what the heck it is, but these are some big kids.
Changeup, boy, that's a pretty pitch. He drops it in there on 1-0, 1-1 the count.
So we came out here during BP earlier today, and the noises that were coming off these guys' bats were extraordinary. Every now and then you'd have a couple guys that were able to do that, but up and down the lineup, these guys were hitting the ball awfully hard.
Stock is with the Royals organization. There's another changeup. Diving play coming up with it, flipping behind to Mendoza. A fine job by the first baseman, Brandon Snyder.
Well, you know I got a lot of love for the one-sackers right there. That was an outstanding job knocking that ball out. When it came off the bat, I thought it was in the hole. Obviously, that 4.5, someone over there on that side with the lefty hooking over there, did a great job, made the right decision of not trying to make that play at second base, just take the second out there at first.
And you love the pitcher. Has a place to be. You young baseball players out there, no need to ever be a spectator, especially there for Mendoza. Going to pick up your first baseman. He makes a play like that for you. We talked about Ackley. High accolades, high pick. This gentleman's the opposite. Chris Heisey, what a great story as he takes a pitch that is low. Heisey played at Messiah College in Pennsylvania, a Division III school, and he went there so he could play basketball a little bit as well along with baseball. The Reds found him at a tryout camp. That's where they found him. He was on about tryout camp number 6, and they stuck with him, and they drafted him. And just a great story. He gives that one a ride. Well struck, deep left field. Desmey going back to the warning track, to the wall. It gets up, it gets out of here. And the beat goes on, and the great story gets even better. Small college here in the Fall League, batting cleanup behind all those draft picks. High draft picks.
Baseball player, a baseball player. Here's a guy that you said, didn't come out with all the accolades and all the pats on the back. He just said, I just want to play baseball. I played some basketball, I did some other things, but can somebody give me an opportunity to play baseball? And look what he's been able to put together and the opportunities and doors he's been able to knock down.
The scouting director I spoke with said that's an area scout's dream, to find a player like that, as Alonso fouls it off. The scout who found him, Jeff Brookings. Jeff Brookings. And we certainly are glad to mention his name. You go find a player like that. Recently lost his father, has more responsibilities at home with his sisters. Line to left field. That one, a great piece of hitting on a curveball. Alonso thinking about two. Big fella lumbering into second. He is out. And Grant Desmey comes up with a great play throwing in there. Yonder Alonso is gunned down. But just before that, a home run by Chris Heisey. Take a ride on that. If you're good kids, they'll find you.
Place holds about 10 this set.
Well, a ball game like this, certainly Major League Baseball is proud of, and some dignitaries make their way to keep an eye on things, as they should. Jimmy Lee Solomon joins us up here in the broadcast booth, the Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations for Major League Baseball. The first question I have for you, and thank you for coming up,
My pleasure.
is the development of the Fall League. Tony and I have talked about it. I mean, Tony played in it 15 years ago. It's changed, it's grown, and you guys must be so proud of that.
We are very proud of it. If you look down behind the plate, we have probably 25, 30 scouts sitting down there. A lot of our talent is right here. We got 18 Rookies of the Year who have played in this league. 141 All-Stars have played in this league. It's a tremendous, tremendous breeding ground for our talent.
And when you think about baseball, and you think about, to me, the excitement of maybe this game being on the network tonight, the World Series just wrapped up. This kind of keeps things rolling right into the hot stove, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Look at this crowd. It's amazing. This place holds 10, and I think they have about 8,500 here, 9,000. People still really hyped over baseball.
Yeah, and the crowd continuing to file in, very exciting. The old late arriving crowd, we've gotten used to that as it rolls down and it's slow. And how about this guy? You have to be very proud of what he has done on the network.
He's an amazing guy.
I know he didn't want to walk away from playing, or as the crutches show us right now, hobble away from playing.
Well, Tony had a great career, and I tell you, we're really proud to have him on the network.
Into right field, and a fly ball there. Desmey is erased.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about, this time of year, guys have had an opportunity to play 5 or 6 months, get some big league time. how important it was 17 years ago now, 18 years ago now, of putting together a league and an opportunity where guys here in the States could come down these spring training facilities, which are outstanding facilities, and get an opportunity to play against the top talent.
Well, the idea came about because we had all the kids leaving and going offshore. It was good to have a place here in the country where we could get our kids to play. Scouts could get very easily come out and see them play, and now these kids all play in this showcase environment. And I think that as time goes on, this will prove to be a model for the future.
Brandon Allen, who homered earlier in this ball game with 2 outs, 1-1 to count. Jimmy Lee Solomon joining us up here in the broadcast booth. Had to be exciting in a year in which baseball, like all of sports, like all of society, battling its way through our country's tougher economic times. To have a World Series like this game had, to see the TV ratings rise, that had to be exciting for all of you guys.
Yes, it's very exciting, but baseball is comfort food. You know, our society faces a lot of different problems, but, you know, when you have issues like that, baseball has always been there as a comfort food for our country.
Isn't that true? I think about Ernie Harwell describing what 1968 did with the Detroit Tigers after the tough times in '67.
Absolutely.
Didn't mean to. He fouls that one off. So what's next on the commissioner's plate? Is he still pushing for radical realignment? Are we going to change everything up here?
You got to ask the commissioner that.
I know. You knew I'd have some fun getting you in this seat. I see. I can get away with asking you that.
I see that.
Breaking ball dives down and in. 3-2 the count.
Well, Jimmy, you said you just flew into town and you're about to fly right back out. It's a job I don't envy with all the travel that you got, but it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of things like you did earlier with the Compton Academy. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely, the Compton Academy is one of Commissioner Schulich's crown jewels. I mean, we have 25 or so kids drafted this year out of the academy. The year before that, we had 21 drafted. It's a tremendous facility, and it's starting to reinvigorate urban America, especially in the Compton area. We're going to open a new academy in Houston, probably the first quarter of next year. After that, Miami, and then we'll have to go to Philadelphia.
That's a great subject. Will you stay with us another half inning?
Sure I will.
I know TC, you champion that cause as well. We'll continue that conversation and the ball game here from Surprise right after this. Radier Gonzalez, right-hander, goes to work. The Blue Jays organization, the big, tall right-hander, and Jimmy Lee Solomon joins us up here as we continue our conversation. Tony, I'd like for you to take it a step further. You were talking about the academies, you're talking about baseball and its urban development. I think we'd all like to continue to listen to your conversation.
Well, I tell you what, Jimmy and I have spoken quite a bit about the numbers of African-American ball players that are in the game, and just giving young people an opportunity to pursue a dream that might include Major League Baseball. And that's why the Compton Academy was an outstanding idea and has been tremendous for the game, as Jimmy has already mentioned, and the opportunities going forward. Having an opportunity to increase those academies and continue to give young people an opportunity has been an absolute blessing for the game. So it's exciting for me to see as a now a former player, but looking forward to seeing guys not give up basketball necessarily, not give up football necessarily, but just not give up baseball altogether and give themselves an opportunity to continue to play.
Absolutely. Baseball, takes a lot of training, a lot of good facilities, a lot of equipment, and it gets kind of expensive. So reaching back into the urban areas that we've been reaching back into and providing that kind of assistance allows those young kids to get that opportunity.
And there's more growth around the corner in that area, correct?
Absolutely. I think the East Coast, Houston will be next, and then we'll go to the East Coast with Miami and then Philadelphia. And then hopefully Washington, D.C. will come on. And Darrell Miller, who runs the Compton Academy and oversees our efforts, has done a lot to go into the Midwest also. Cincinnati and Milwaukee are two cities.
Change up in a dandy and a strike to Darrell Jones. Jimmy Lee Solomon, Executive Vice President, Baseball Operations for Major League Baseball, joining us up here in the broadcast booth. It also helps, too, to me anyway, as someone watching from the sidelines in these efforts, and proud to cover it. Good-looking curveball there. Jones goes down on strikes. To have guys like you mentioned, Darrell Miller, former player, but to have guys, and I remember when he was a current player, just it seemed like a couple of months ago as we see this curveball one more time, to have players inside the locker room like Tony communicating, championing the cause, correct?
Well, Torrey Hunter was great. He came out to the academy. He helped us kick off our Little League program in Compton. We've had a lot of the Dodgers, a lot of the Angels have come out, and a lot of the clubs, when they make their West Coast swing, they come through, they take their time, they come on the off day and see the kids and actually work with them. It has been a fantastic effort. Frank Robinson has also been fantastic in helping us out.
Lan Zawadski in the left side of that batter's box takes Tony Clark, what has looked like a nice yellowhammer, as you guys call him, curveball, huh?
Well, I tell you what, in games like this, oftentimes you don't see the same pitcher twice, and having an opportunity here where the bottom half of this lineup comes out and sees a guy who's throwing a little bit different than the guy who just left, you have to make some quick adjustments along the way.
24-year-old Cuban-born right-hander. There's another strikeout. This one swinging. Posey sticks with it just enough and fires in time. Back-to-back Ks.
Seems like he's got outstanding stuff tonight. Again, you're throwing a guy that has got a pretty decent fastball, but it looks like his curveball is his bread and butter right now.
There's the curveball again. Out here in Arizona. And we continue to talk about the facilities for the Fall League, but also for a team like Cincinnati. They make the move from Florida out here to Arizona. Goodyear, I would imagine exciting times for the Reds organization next spring.
Absolutely. And, you know, the Reds are also the host of our civil rights game, which I also wanted to get a chance to bring in. It's our second year. We'll be there again this year. St. Louis versus the Reds. And we'll have another weekend of events talking about civil rights and baseball's place in the civil rights movement.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's the part of the job right there, I promise you folks. And I would imagine Tony, the ball player, will say you never take for granted kids at the ballpark. Even when you played, you noticed those youngsters.
There's no doubt about it. I've got 3 kids, and having them come out and have an opportunity to watch Dad play and watch them hang out with their friends, that's what it's all about here at the ballpark.
Youngsters out there enjoying it. You saw that shot a moment ago back on the East Coast. We apologize for that. That was a young man all blanketed up. It may be down to like 68 degrees now. So time to get a blanket out, get cold. You know, we're all from everywhere else but Arizona. It feels like at times everyone's from everywhere, but you get cold quickly when it gets into the 60s.
So I tell you what, out here though, your blood pressure goes up when you hit that 115, 118. So when it drops down to 68, it's a little bit different.
Avi Guerra goes to work. His fastball never drops down to 68. A right-hander playing for the Peoria club. He is a Dodger. He's 24 years old. Worked out of the backside of the bullpen. 16 saves this year. Young man out of Denton, Texas. Drafted 4th round back in 04 by the Dodgers out of Ryan High School.
Well, I tell you what, you saw his numbers right there in the Fall League. He's done an outstanding job so far in this league, continuing to have the success that he had through the season.
Buster Posey takes high and tight. 1-0 the count.
Velo jump. We got a velo jump. Young man right there. First fastball at 94.
See, I love when you bring out the scout terms there. Velo, which is short for
velocity.
See? As that fastball dives low, 95 miles an hour.
Well, again, we talked about the way the ball jumped out of Mr. Fields' hands earlier. Here's a situation where the very first ball he let go, you could tell it was a little bit different. So you look up there and you see the 94, 95 on that second pitch. There's something a little bit different about it.
Fastball runs high, 94 miles an hour. Scouts take, I'll read it to you. Fastball with sink, big arm, electric slider.
You can see the big arm already. You can see it already. Not surprising.
Pitched in Single-A and then stopped off in Chattanooga in Double-A this year. Posey patiently earns his way on. He is now singled and walked, Buster Posey. Had a slow start to the Fall League, Posey did. He talked with us about it. A good experience, though, for him. He, to me, embodies, when we were told that it's finishing school, Buster Posey embodies that title of the Fall League.
I 100% agree. Here's a situation where you had an outstanding minor league season and then got a taste at the big leagues. So having an opportunity to take that experience that last month or so, come into here, and give himself an opportunity to expand on the success he had during the season, make the adjustments he needs to make at the higher level as he continues to move up in hopes of being that much more refined come spring training.
1-0 the count to Dominic Brown. 20th round pick out of high school in Florida. Redden High School produced Brandon Phillips. I think you folks have heard of him. Very talented athlete for the Cincinnati Reds, Gold Glover.
Well, I tell you what, you can take that 20th round and kind of throw it out the window. Here's a situation where a guy is unbelievably talented and gifted, and I have to assume that everybody believed he was going to school to play football. And because of that skill set, you're not too ready to jump on board and try and draft him too high in the event that he does actually do that. So guys that have that type of athletic skill set, that talented, obviously he saw it as an opportunity too, even though he was drafted in 20th round, to come on out here and explore the possibilities of being a big league ball player.
Takes a strike right down the middle, 3-1. It was Kyle Drabek and then this young man, Dominic Brown, that were the names constantly mentioned in the Roy Halladay deal. Philadelphia trying to pull that off. They did just fine getting Cliff Lee, but those were the names that were mentioned. Bouncing ball on a backhand. Truenfell. No way do you double that man up. Good hard slide by Posey, but they do get the lead runner in Buster Posey.
I tell you what, it must be some kind of nice to be that size and be able to move down the line that easily.
What do you mean? You didn't know that?
Well, I've read books and I've seen video, but I've never experienced being able to run down the line that easy for a big fella. Look at him stride out there. Easy. That's a gift, an absolute gift.
So he is at first. Now Josh Bell.
Now we saw Josh up this first at bat, hit right-handed and hit that ball first pitch deep to the outfield for that sac fly early in the ball game. Now here's the transition to the left side. As a switch hitter, sometimes changing in the middle of a game, let alone after one at bat, can be an adjustment.
When did he tell you he started switch hitting?
He said he's been doing it forever, as far back as he can remember. I tell you what, I was fortunate enough to have started thanks to the neighborhood kids at about 11. But to have grown up from both sides and done it since he was knee-high to the table says a lot about his natural athletic ability. It's not an easy thing to do.
Seven to 2 the score. The East lead it as that slider stays up. 1-1 the count. A youngster, and you young viewers, you're noticing the ink on his arms. A lot of that is to honor members of his family. He lost his father his senior year, Bruce, who worked with him on that switch hitting, and there is certainly tribute paid there. As that one is a mile high. Heading over, looking to make the play. Moustakas comes up a little bit short. But our interactions with him showed that Dad would be very proud looking down. A very respectful young man, Josh Bell. There were a handful of guys, folks. Truth be told, fly on the wall as we like to have you. I'd grab a few guys and bring them over to say hello to Tony. And a guy like Josh was a yes sir, no sir handshake. And that's a treat for a guy who's stereotyped as a high prospect. Maybe might not be that way.
No, it is a good thing.
Runner goes. The speed of Brown on display. He's gunned down. The arm of Castro on display as well. Hold that thought on Bell for just a moment, because this is a great throw from Castro.
Catch and release, and he had to put that ball in the bag. Here's a guy, he got a pretty good jump there at first base, and as he lengthened out towards second, made it close, but an outstanding job of getting rid of that thing and giving the shortstop there an opportunity to put that tag on him.
So 2-2 the count. Brown gave it a go, but Dominic on a beautiful throw is gunned down. They're playing him to pull Bell a couple of steps. Out front, pops it up. Alonso, a long run still going, and that one drops in front of Jordan Danks. Now, that gives you a moment to speak a little bit more of your interactions with Josh Bell.
No, there's no doubt. I told you earlier I had an affinity for guys who switch hit, and having the young man come over and smiling ear to ear just let you know how much he appreciates the opportunity. He appreciates playing. He doesn't take his talent for granted. It was an absolute pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to him. I'm hopeful that as he continues to progress, he gets that opportunity to realize the dream that he has of playing in the big leagues.
And I quote from the scouting world, has a chance to be an everyday Bonilla type third baseman.
Based on what I've seen so far and his work early on, I could see that as a possibility. Again, watching him swing the bat in the cage, and I take BP for what it's worth, but having an opportunity to watch the ball come off his bat, then jump to the other side of the plate and continue to see that power come off the bat. Watch him take ground balls thereafter, his athleticism. There's a lot of things this young man does right, and that's why it's going to be exciting as he moves forward to watch him put it all together and become the type of big league ball player he's capable of becoming.
You know, they're excited in Baltimore. The 2-2 is a fastball, just missed the inside corner. Javi Guerra not able to get the call on that pitch.
I tell you what, as a lefty, that fastball up and under your hands is difficult to get to, let alone the fact that it's 94-95 coming out of Javi's hands there. So you don't swing at it because you can't hit it and hope that he calls it a ball.
I had it as a strike up here, Tony, just so you know. The 3-2, and he lost him. That's ball 4. A changeup, a 3-2 changeup.
Well, he sped him up with the fastball in. Obviously, he has a lot of trust in being able to throw that off-speed pitch there with 2 outs. The last thing you want to do is give them a little breath of life as they close out the inning. So here's a guy again who had a lot of success at the back end of that bullpen. I got to believe it's because he's able to execute the pitches he needs to execute when he wants to execute them.
So now Jemile Weeks, 278, on base percentage of .357 this year between Stockton and Midland. There's a strike, limited to just 80 games. Hip problems cost him some time.
You know what's amazing is you see guys who are that athletic and that physically gifted, and you simply hope along the way that they're able to stay away from the injuries. But because they push their bodies so hard, oftentimes they find it very difficult.
Tops that one to the right side. Zawatsky fields and fires in time for the out. 7-2 the score. The East rolls. They're powerful, patient, and clutch. We don't call them Silver Sluggers for nothing. And this Thursday, you can find out the 09 winners on an MLB Network special event. Watch exclusive live TV coverage of the awards presentation at 6 Eastern. Then get insight and analysis on a special hot stove at 7 Eastern. Thursday night, only on MLB Network, your home for the Silver Slugger Awards. There's a future slugger there, no doubt about it. Getting it done on the softball diamond. I think that might be a future soccer player. I have a little affinity towards that sport as well, as we take a look at Danny Moskos, left-hander, Pittsburgh Pirates organization, plays out here for Scottsdale. First round pick back in 2007 out of Clemson, 4th pick overall. So Moskos goes to work. It's been an up and down fall league, but we want to show you the numbers. We want to point out the positives. But then again, player development folks will tell you that's about 6th on their list of things they look at out here are the numbers.
No, there's no doubt about it. The numbers are great and fine if you want to look at those. But at the end of the day, you're looking for progress. You're looking for adjustments being made. You're looking for guys who are showing the wherewithal that'll allow them to be successful come spring training. And on into the big leagues. That ability to adjust on the fly, that ability to execute oftentimes leads to good numbers, yes, but at the end of the day, when you struggle, oftentimes that's when you learn the most. So being able to go through some difficult stretches, make the adjustments you need to make, is going to put him in a better position to be successful down the road.
Carlos Truenfeld, just 19 years old, as he takes a fastball that just missed the outside corner. Truenfeld, his first chance to hit has been playing a fine shortstop. Signed with the Mariners as a free agent back in 2006 at 16 years old as he lays off of that one.
I tell you what, as we get to 2-2 here, I'm looking for this slider that I've heard so much about. Not sure if we're going to see it right here, but I tell you what, 2-2 after throwing those fastballs away might be a good time to go ahead and break that thing out.
Runs that one down and in. That was a fastball, and Truenfeld will hobble that off.
So he changed his location. He was throwing those 2-seam fastballs away that were running down off the plate. And here's a situation almost like a little cutter. Gets a little downward movement toward the inner half of the plate there and gets him to pound it in the ground.
Continuing to walk it off now. They'll come out and take a look at it. You know, the one thing is they make sure Truenfeld is okay. And this is why.
That's going to leave a mark. That's going to leave a mark. There's not a whole lot of meat on the inside part of your foot there. You see he's got the pad there on his shin, but that one didn't work too well to cover up that area that got hit there. See, this is when, hopefully he's okay, but this is when, after I hit a ball off my foot, my first thought is this is really going to cut into my stolen base count the rest of the ball game. It's really going to slow me down, Sut.
Yeah, and you can understand why. He's got protective gear. He ended up missing a lot of this season with a broken leg. And so now there's some extra pain there. And so Truenfeld, that's the last thing that he wanted to do. Yeah, from April 11th until nearly August, that left fibula, and there you can see where he's protecting it. He was a little bit lower that time. It all kind of has that general pain down there, though.
No, there's no doubt about it. What he might end up seeing later on is that you see the shin guard there. He may have an opportunity to attach the little flap that goes like a catcher shin guard to help give him some coverage over his foot. Sometimes you see guys that wear that, other times not quite as much, but given an opportunity to protect that thing, at least going forward, you might see him break that out.
Out front, pulled the string, a very good changeup. There's some gear.
There you go.
Now that's how Craig Biggio used to come to the plate with all that on right there. He looked like that, and had that Astros orange and all the protective gear.
There's that little flap we were talking about. I'm telling you, it doesn't lead to, it leads to a whole lot of jabbing in the dugout, but if it protects your foot, so be it.
Certainly hope Craig isn't watching tonight as that one is belted deep left field. That foot might be hurting, but guess what? He can jog. Truenfeld will touch them all. It gets out of here.
I tell you what, that's pretty special. That's pretty special. After beating the ball off your foot, to come back and hit a ball out of the ballpark simply because you don't feel like running too hard on your foot, that's a talent. You can't teach that right there, son.
Just 2 for 18 in the fall league, and then he does this. And a souvenir with the slide. No balls and 1 strike the count to Dustin Ackley. So Ackley was talking about his father when he was a young man and saying, my dad would never let me pull the baseball, ever.
I tell you what, that when you said that earlier, it wasn't surprising to me that he's had the success that he's had so far at the plate collegiately, and that all the expectations point toward him having that type of success up here. Being able to hit the ball the other way puts you in a position to pull, but if all you're thinking about is pulling, you won't be able to hit the ball the other way. And we could spend the rest of the evening talking and breaking down the swing, but fundamentally that piece to the puzzle makes a huge difference for guys to let the ball travel and be able to drive the ball. Don't slap it, don't cut it, drive the ball the other way and simply react on the ball in. There's no doubt in my mind that approach has led him to have the success he's had so far.
No smile on the face of Ackley right now as he is grinding, unlike what we saw a moment ago from Truenfeld in that dugout. All is fine with him. But a beautiful approach and a very quiet and peaceful approach for a guy who hit all those homers. But you can tell those homers were just a product of a solid attack on the baseball, not because he's over swinging.
No, there's no doubt about it. You saw him take the breaking ball to pitch before, a tough breaking ball to take. You see him fight off a fastball there. He's in position because his approach is working the other way to simply battle off the tough pitches or take the tough pitches and then eventually try and get himself in a position to get something he can hit hard.
Got the outside corner. Fabulous pitch.
Outstanding pitch. Outstanding job.
And something tells me as we see this again that Ackley is the kind of hitter that after an at-bat like that starts to go to work mentally.
He'll do his homework. He'll take what happened during the course of that at-bat, sit down, go back through it, so that when he steps back up in there, his game plan is such that he can execute what he wants to execute, knowing this young man went to this pitch in this location at this time after doing this. Here's the adjustment I'm going to make.
Dives down and away. I got a little Brandon Webb in the face there. Just
I can see that.
A little bit of look. By the way, Brandon had that option picked up. It's busy time now for free agents and those that are with options. This is the only place where you can follow it night in and night out on the MLB Network. Fly ball left field. Danks drives it. Talk about going the other way on 0-2. That one got a lot of the play.
Yeah, that was a nice piece of hitting. Nice piece of hitting. I tell you what I like about Mr. Mosco so far is after the battle of that at bat early on where he gave up the home run, coming back and getting a tough pitcher in Mr. Ackley, and then going ahead and coming right after the young man right there who hit the ball to deep left. But rather than getting rattled and getting frustrated, simply coming back and executing his pitches to the next two hitters.
He gets Danks, and now here's Mike Moustakas. Hot shot, base hit, right field. He was ready for that pitch in. A fastball at 92 in on the hands, and he just opened up and turned on.
I guess he figured there was no reason to wait around. His changeup was pretty good, and his slider was pretty good. Let me go ahead and take a rip at this first pitch fastball.
100 extra base hits the last 2 seasons in professional baseball, including 38 homers.
So the young man could swing the bat. Is that what you're saying, son?
Yeah, and find the gaps. He's a guy that's, as we mentioned, a big kid. He was drafted as a shortstop and moved to third base. Here's Chris Heisey, and he takes low. We didn't get nearly enough time to talk about him before he homered out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Messiah College, a small Division III program there. The 504th player picked in 2006 as he takes a changeup away.
And I tell you what, there are a handful of other guys that were chosen before him that either aren't playing anymore or simply aren't having the success that he's having. That's why you tip your hat. He's continuing to grind. He's continuing to improve. And he's simply giving himself an opportunity. Made the most of it that first at bat.
He was a special education major. He thought he was about to become a teacher. As that one dives down and away, and his buddy said, come on, let's go to some of those tryout camps. You can play a little bit. Nah. Buddy kept twisting his arm, and I would imagine his buddies enjoying some snacks and a beverage watching Chris play baseball. 3-1 the count.
No, you've got to appreciate it. It's just great that he's given himself an opportunity to simply to have that type of success. You saw his first at bat there, the home run to left center. You know, oftentimes guys won't pursue that opportunity. They won't jump at that dream that they have. And tip my hat to his friend who convinced him just to continue to grind it out and see what happens.
Bouncing ball hugs the line. Another extra base hit for Heisey. Racing on around as Moustakas out front. It is a double. What a night he is having.
I'll tell you what, Seth. There comes a point in time where you throw the draft placement out of the window. You throw the okay, well, the radar gun's not getting lit up, or the ball doesn't seem to be traveling quite as far, or the sound off his bat isn't like this guy over here. But at the end of the day, this young man can play baseball, period. And if he can play baseball, then you know what? He can help my team win. So I look at him tonight, and I'm happy to see him having the success he is having in particular tonight. But obviously the fact remains that he's had a lot of success already. And if he continues to do the things that he's capable of doing going forward, why not see him playing every day in the big leagues?
There's a man behind him who came with a lot more ballyhoo, a lot more fanfare. They play in the same organization. He earned it. Yonder Alonso certainly earned it. He singled back in the first inning. As that one is down and in, a couple of runners on. Alonso's parents moved in 1995 from Cuba. He was born in Havana, Cuba. His dad actually played for Industriales, one of the great New York Yankee-style teams in Cuba. Luis, his father, played there, coached there for that program, that team as well. One and one.
One of the things that stood out to me watching him take BP earlier today was not necessarily how far he was hitting the ball, but how often and how hard he was hitting the ball. You know, they talk about first baseman hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Well, here's a guy who hits the ball hard consistently on a line. I tell you what, I'll take that guy every day.
The 1-1, lefty on lefty. That one bounces. A great job there by Buster Posey, keeping that one in front of him.
A lot of times with Buster, you can get caught up in his offensive numbers and realize that the work he does behind the plate is exemplary as well. You see him knocking that ball down there, keeping that man on third base. Obviously, with 2 outs, you're not trying to let anybody else come across. Great job there by Buster.
Between San Jose and Fresno, AA and AAA, Buster threw out 46% of those that tried to steal this year. Good big league average is about 28. That one is in. 3-1.
You think the guys on the mound will appreciate him even doing half that when he gets to the big leagues?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They'll clearly appreciate it and how he puts his nose in the baseball. He's a special kid, but Bengie Molina has set a high standard.
Yes, he has.
The 3-1. That one is killed into the gap in left center field. Over, attempting to make the play is Tabata. It's over his head all the way to the wall. It will go. Yonder Alonso drives in a pair. He let that ball travel deep, and then he scorched it into the biggest part of the ballpark.
Remember those line drive things we were talking about earlier, Sut? Here's a situation where, as an outfielder, you see the ball come off the bat, and it's a pretty decent read, but you don't realize the backspin that is on this ball. This ball carried and did not come down. And that read out there in the outfield allowed this ball to carry right up over his head and push 2 more runs across there with 2 outs.
R.C. Lichtenstein, the pitching coach, with a visit. I'm going to take you somewhere statistically, Tony, and just for some of our diehard fans, and we know you're out there. That line drive that you just saw, Yonder Alonso's line drive rate, okay, 27%. Minor leaguer usually averages about 16. Big league averages 19. 27% of the time he's hitting the line drive.
That goes to what we were talking about. This young man puts the barrel of the bat on the ball more often than most, and has had an unbelievable response so far with respect to how often he does it and his statistics. So if he continues to do what he's doing, you see the rate dropping from 27 to 19 in the big leagues. Heck, even if he backs off a little bit, he's still going to have a lot of success.
27% of the time he hits a line drive. Are you kidding me?
Maybe they're telling him what's coming. I wish I could hit the ball that hard that often.
Here's Darryl Jones. Jones struck out back in the 2nd inning. Good sweeping breaking ball. 0-2 the count to Darryl. Out of Spring, Texas. 3rd round pick in 05 of the St. Louis Cardinals. Mr. Jones could play some football and play it well. His last couple of years, he had a decision make coming out of high school. As that one is high, he caught 20 touchdowns at Spring High School in Texas. A boatload of Division I offers. Rice wanted him to come play baseball. All those temptations, he started his pro career.
Well, I tell you what, when you have something you can't teach, it's going to give you a chance to be successful in any sport that you choose.
High fly right field. Brown. He came in, now he goes back. It's over his head. It's off the wall. Another run will score. Don't know if Dominic would have clearly made the play. Tony, you might, but he did come in a couple of steps, and now standing at second is Darryl Jones.
Well, I was going to suggest that the one thing that he has that you can't teach is speed, but after hitting that ball off the wall, he seems to be a combination of both power and speed. I tell you what, having an opportunity to watch these guys and the realization that, you know, you got guys like Darryl who get on base and can create havoc, and yet in situations where they get something they can handle, he drives a ball deep in the gap here off the wall. You tip your hat to these guys.
We'll step aside. A pitching change to be made. Moskos is done. We'll reset. It's getting interesting. 7-6. Don't go anywhere. Well, at one point in this ball game, the East are very comfortable, maybe even got their rocking chairs out. They were leading by a score of 7-0. Had a friend that watches baseball out here a lot. Tony just sent me a message that said, and I guess we could use this as some sort of a marketing campaign. The Arizona Fall League. No lead is safe. The baseballs are flying tonight. So with that being said, Matt Gorgan, it's your turn, young man, to go to work. The right-hander out of the Tampa Bay Rays organization. Gorgan works for the Phoenix Club here in the Fall League. 16th round pick in 2008 out of Cal Berkeley.
Well, I tell you what, at some point in time here, these young men, as talented as they are on the mound, you know they're simply going to settle and get this line moving in the direction of getting some consistent outs, because these guys at the plate right now are swinging the bat some kind of well.
Lance Zawatsky. 7-6 the score. Fastball blows it in there at 94 miles an hour. Gorgan does his work again in the 9th. He had 19 saves in 44 appearances. Stopped off in the Florida State League in Charlotte, and then in AA Montgomery in the Southern League. Had a 1.15 ERA this year.
Is that good?
Very good. Bouncing ball, and it's a foul ball. Well, if you wonder how good, by the way, he's got a twin brother that's a starting pitcher in the Cards organization. That's good as well. That's family baseball. Twin brother Scott.
So we'll go back to the brothers again. I tell you
Absolutely.
what, that's at least 4 sets, 5 sets we've talked about tonight. That doesn't happen very often. Ladies and gentlemen, that's awfully special to see that kind of talent at this level.
Fastball sails in. 1-2 the count. Has always been the guy that pitches behind his twin brother. Brother the starter, this man the hard fireballing closer. As that one shoots away, they share the great story, one of their favorite memories, pitching in high school. Scott started the game, pitched his 5 innings, and then went back behind home plate and caught Matt, this man right here, the last 2 innings as he locked it down.
Once again, you can't teach that.
Fastball sails away. 3-2 the count.
That's one of those stories that resonates. You'll never not remember that. As you go forward, you tell your grandkids and your grandkids and your grandkids and your grandkids and your other kids. You gotta love those.
3-2 with 2 outs, just protecting there. Shoots that one up and into the seats. You saw taking off was Darryl Jones. And Baseball America rating Darryl Jones as the fastest base runner in the entire St. Louis organization.
Going back to what we were talking about, having something you can't teach. That's a skill set that doesn't come very lightly. It's going to give Darryl a lot of opportunities to do a lot of damage out there on the base paths going forward.
4-5 in the 40. Fastball's low. That's ball 4. Jones represents the tying run, the go-ahead run. Here in the 3rd inning, by the way.
Well, I can't lie. As an offensive guy, I'm not upset to see balls flying around the ballpark. I'm just not. It's been kind of nice to see guys put together solid at bats, battle through, battle off tough pitches, keep the line moving, and light up that scoreboard.
Thought that was a pretty good pitch there a moment ago. As that changeup drops in there, right at the knees.
Should we let everybody know, Seth, that you were a pitcher?
Well, if you use the term very loosely, my manager Tom Kochman in Boise, Idaho, back in the early 90s, he would say use it very loosely, but for a couple of years in professional baseball, so I will defend the pitchers. I'm having a hard time doing it tonight, though. Very hard time doing it.
You know, there's a lot of baseball left, and I tell you what, it's 7-6 right now, and before this thing is over, we may end up 7-6. These guys are gifted. The guys on the mound are very talented, and that's why at any given time, they simply settle in and do what they're capable of doing. This thing could shut down, and this line can get moving really quick.
The 1-1. Good fastball, 94 miles an hour to Jason Castro.
Talking about this talent set, these guys aren't here by accident. You know, there's nobody here that you know, simply got lucky and fell into the right spot. These guys here on the mound, in the field, have done an outstanding job all year and have simply taken advantage of that by being here amongst some of the best talent in the game.
Castro, ground ball, ranging over to his right is Snyder. Blitz to Gorgon covering, in time for the out, but 4 more runs, 7-6 to score. The best in the Arizona Fall League. I would imagine many of you enjoying the Fall Classic, and here's where it starts in the Arizona Fall League. Tony Clark, you're an alum of this league. This is stunning, though. I think many folks would be surprised to know the numbers that high from the recently completed World Series.
Yeah, this is from the World Series that was just played. Look at how many guys, you're talking 20 plus guys that were all alums here from the Fall League. That's pretty impressive.
As we mentioned before, nearly 60% of all of those that play in the Fall League go to the major leagues. Local product received a lot of cheers when he was announced onto the line. A very, very athletic pitcher as well. ASU domination for several years. Mike Leake, young man, Cincinnati, plays for the Peoria club. As that one is high. 1-1 the count.
Here's another guy who, coming straight out of college, this is his first opportunity to experience professional baseball. It says a lot about these guys to think, you know, we mentioned it earlier. that they have an opportunity here, you know, having not played at any particular level, to come in and compete with guys who are seasoned, a couple of years in, have had success, and they're competing and performing admirably. Says a lot about their gift to play.
Gets the outside corner. Scouts speak. One scout said, and I quote, "The consummate pitcher, so athletic, one of the better athletes at any position. Good comp, Houston Street."
I'll tell you what, that's quite a compliment. Now, I know he was a freshman starting shortstop, you know, so a situation where you're taking a guy who's an athlete at a very athletic position and putting him on the hill. So it's not surprising that everybody would say that he's the athlete that you would say.
Nasty stuff. Ask Jose Tabata about the stuff of Arizona State alum Mike Leake. He was 16-1 with stuff like this year at ASU.
Well, I remember watching him in the World Series last year. This young man, I don't think he throws a ball that's straight. His ability to have it move all kinds of directions, in, out, up, down, at a pretty decent velocity is going to give him an opportunity to have some success as well.
The youngster, and he looks young, the lanky youngster, Starlin Castro, takes his shot at Mike Leake as that one goes to the backstop on a hop, skip, and a jump.
19 years old, Seth. What a gift. What a gift at 19 years old to be able to compete and compete well at this level.
And made his way to Double-A, talking about Castro this year. .299 on base percentage of .342. That fastball is high.
Yeah, he's not overmatched. You know, it's not a situation where you simply say, okay, well, maybe we gave him a lot of money, let's push him along. This young man right here has performed everywhere they've put him.
Fly ball, a lazy pop, and into right field of Texas Leaguer, and he'll take it. So Castro is on his second hit of the ball game.
Is it a Texas Leaguer in Arizona? Is that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can't change the name, and that would offend the Texas League to call it an Arizona Fall Leaguer.
Well, I guess the Rangers do play here as well as Kansas City for spring training, so I guess it does apply. It does apply.
Well, and I thought that as I said it, of course. This is the spring training home, as Tony just said, of Kansas City and Texas. We are actually, for those that make their way around Phoenix, this is about a 4-hour drive to the actual heart of Phoenix out here to Surprise. I kid. I'm sorry. I kid. I shouldn't say that. We love it out here in Surprise. It's a beautiful ballpark. I think one of the crown jewels of all of the Cactus League, as I quickly try to reel back in the trouble I've caused.
No, I'd buy that. I tell you what, it's been amazing to watch over the years. I moved out here about 13, 14 years ago to watch the development out here in Surprise, including this ballpark, and watching everything kind of fall in place around it. They've done an outstanding job out here.
Thank you. You saved me. 0-2 the count on Brandon Snyder. Little slider diving down and away. 7 runs, 8 hits, and no errors for the East Rising Stars squad. 6 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error for the West. Outside, 2-2 the count, and again, he's Tony Clark. My name is Darren Sutton. In this East and West that we talk about, it's almost East and West of the Valley. The West, Peoria, 2 teams in Peoria, the Javelinas and the Saguaros, and here in Surprise, the Rafters. The East, a team in Phoenix, the Desert Dogs, in Mesa, the Solar Sox, and in Scottsdale, the Scorpions. So that's strike 3 with a little sting over the outside corner.
Well, again, talking about that movement that we were alluding to earlier, I don't think he throws a ball straight. This fastball away has a little late tail. It's a tough pitch. As a hitter, you know you can't do much with it. You read the ball out off the plate, and a little late movement gives him a chance to get that strike call for strike 3.
Grant Desmond, 10 home runs in the Arizona Fall League. Nice block, coming up throwing, and that one skitters on into center field. Well, he made a great play in blocking that ball, did Castro, and tried to put it on the bag, so It'll end up being an error on Jason Castro as Starlin Castro advances.
I tell you what, that read right there says a lot about that young man on the base pass. He read the ball in the dirt and then took off. You know, it wasn't a situation where he was stealing on this pitch. He read the ball down, was aggressive, made them make a play, and now finds himself at third base with 2 outs, where if this ball is thrown in the dirt again, he can go ahead and score from there.
Sinking fastball, 1-1 the count at third base. One of 3 19-year-olds here in this Rising Stars game. Castro, Truenfeld, we've already seen him, and we may see at some point Jose Iglesias, young Cuban, with the Boston Red Sox. Slider, strike 2.
So I had a chance to watch Mr. Iglesias in warm-ups and the ground balls that he took early. This young man's hands are lightning. You're talking about 3 19-year-olds that do a lot of things in this game extremely well. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see him later.
You bet he went around on that slider. Leake leaves that runner at third base, and a fine job from the man out of Arizona State pitching here at home. 7-6 the score. MLB Network's new season begins this week. Tuesday night on the season premiere of the network, Studio 42 with Bob Costas sits down with Commissioner Bud Selig, talking about the state of the game. Don't miss this very special edition of Studio 42 with Bob Costas, Tuesday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on MLB Network. All of baseball, all year long. We continue here as some of the best ball players in the United States, appropriately, and worldwide, battling in the Rising Stars game. Bottom of the 4th inning. The East squad leading the West squad 7-6. And continuing to work the right-hander, Tampa Bay right-hander Matt Gorgan. To Carlos Truenfeld, who, if you're just joining us, fouled a ball off his foot. We didn't know if he would continue, and then he homered. That's a little topper. Foot looks just fine as he races up the line. Taking just a minute to get it out of his glove is Gorgan, but he got him there.
Well, I'm thinking that's not the way he wanted to draw that one up. It's not often you hit a ball 390 feet and then come back up. And the long and the short of it here to where you actually have to leg this one out. I got to believe his foot appreciated the trot around the base as opposed to that run right down there to first base.
From the Detroit Tigers organization, Casper Wells will hit now in the spot occupied by Dustin Ackley. Playing for the Peoria Javelina squad this year. 15 home runs, Double-A Erie. Slugged nearly 500 this season. Had 27 home runs a season ago. And did a majority of his work as the breaking ball is low this season in center field. I would imagine he'll take over in center field.
I tell you, one of the things that stuck out with me with Mr. Wells were his 10 outfield assists in 83 games this year. You know, having an opportunity to not just be an offensive threat, but be a defensive asset as well out there in the outfield, being able to throw guys out, run balls down, being a contributor on both sides of the ball is something that every organization is going to appreciate.
He's a veteran of this league. He lines that one to right field on a breaking ball. Not an easy chance for Dominic Brown, but he hung on with it. That one knuckled on him. Good piece of hitting, staying back on an off-speed pitch that was up.
You know what's crazy, Sud, is you sit here all night and you see the broken bat bloopers that fall in and the seeing eye singles. Then you step up to the plate and you hit an absolute missile. And Mr. Doubleday put that guy out there about 135 years ago, and he is still in that same spot. So no matter how hard you hit it with him standing there, you're going to still end up back in the dugout.
Jordan Danks painting over the outside corner is Gorgan.
Tell you what, Danks is a big kid. Saw him around the batting cage earlier as he was taking BP. This is a pretty good sized young man.
Was a little surprised, I have to admit.
We talked about Dom out there in right field right now. I mean, we're talking about a handful of guys, 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". You just don't see a lot of those guys. Most of the guys that are that size you'll see on the mound and not in the field.
Inside corner, Gorgon rolling through this part of the order. Mr. Truenfell, Mr. Wells, Mr. Danks, have a good evening. Well, you talk about winning it all. There certainly is something to play for here. I mean, beautiful rings and all that. The Phoenix Desert Dogs, oh my goodness. Look out, New York Yankees type dynasty.
Well, I tell you what, that's awful selfish. For those guys that played on those Desert Dog teams, that's thinking about only themselves and not everybody else. And sweeping the last five, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, not to mention the one they snuck in 01. That's saying quite a bit for a success there down that 8-year stretch.
Guess who leads the Eastern Division again this year?
Let me guess.
Oh, you bet.
Desert Dogs.
You bet. They're 13-9, a 3.5 game lead on the Mesa Solar Sox and the Scottsdale Scorpions, and of course the Peoria Javelinas lead the Western Division.
Check the water in that ballpark. Something's not quite right.
Tanner Shepard. Fastball just missed away. Young man pitches out here in surprise. He's a member of the Texas Rangers organization. Pitched at Fresno State a couple of years back. An injury allowed him to fight his way and help his team at Fresno State in the early stages of winning the College World Series. The injury cost him a chance to compete. As you can see, Brandon Hicks of the Braves is now his short.
So I'd like to point something out real quick.
Yes,
you can tell a young man feels some kind of nice on the mound when he lets the ball go and you see him hopping in between pitches. He lets another one go and hops in between pitches. These last 4 pitches, the 4 pitches that he's thrown, he threw that at bat. 97, 99, 96, 97. Your I'm feeling good about myself level is awfully high when you can step out on the mound and let that joker eat at that speed.
How about that? 97 at the knees.
Can't do much with that. Can't do much with that. You hope that he calls that thing a ball.
That pitch is high to Buster Posey. 99. 99 miles an hour. A little worked up, Tony. Fouls that one back. 98 miles an hour. Shepard's born in Mission Viejo, California. Was a shortstop at Dana Hills High School. And started to pitch when he got to college. They said, you know what, at Fresno State, you're not much of a hitter. But you can pitch. You can pitch for us.
My response would have been, is this the way I can get to the big leagues? If the answer was yes, then on the mound I go. And obviously it looks like that's what his answer was as well.
Pirates' second-round pick in 08. Hot shot out to short. The ball will find you, Brandon Hicks, when you come on to play shortstop. Posey squared that one up nice.
Yeah, he did. Well, Buster's an outstanding hitter. Obviously, when you throw that hard, it gives you a little margin for error. But the realization is after he bounced that curveball, if I'm standing at the plate, my feeling is a fastball is coming here next pitch. Let me be ready to hit it. He hit it hard, but Mr. Doubleday again put that guy right out there in the right position.
Pours that one in there at 97 miles an hour. And 08 prior to the injury at Fresno State, 8-2 at 2.93 ERA. He struck out 109 in 70 innings. And played some independent league ball this past summer to prove that his health was up to speed with the St. Paul Saints.
I tell you what, Lord willing, he continues to stay healthy, but that's a heck of a pickup for an organization to find an arm like that in independent ball. So again, I simply pray he stays healthy and continues to progress the way he has. Because it's some kind of exciting to see a young man take advantage of an opportunity, especially when he's out on the mound throwing 97, 98 every other pitch.
Brown tied up, fly ball left field. As he puts that one away, we will step aside. An electric arm on that man. Keep an eye on him. MLB Network's new season begins this week, and we know the offseason gets you down. Don't be down. That's why the stove is back. Hot Stove on MLB Network. Keep up to date on every rumor, every trade, every signing with the best baseball analyst on television. Don't miss the season premiere of Hot Stove. I'll be watching Wednesday night at 7 Eastern and Pacific, only on MLB Network. All of baseball all year long. Very good stuff. And in this ball game, the pitchers have started to restore order. Look at them. A couple of Angels gathered together there with a smile. Mendoza started this game, and they're having a little fun there.
They should have fun. They should have fun. They've earned it.
Jose Iglesias is the new shortstop. And a fastball from the left-hander. Dustin Richardson paints the outside corner. Big old drink of water. 6'6", 220 out of Newton, Kansas.
Newton, Kansas. I'm from Newton, Kansas.
I thought you'd like that.
I like that a lot.
I noted that earlier today. That's hit on the ground to short. Iglesias, a little flip and in time for the out.
So you said that ball will find you, won't it? As soon as you step off the bench and onto the field, that ball will find you.
Brian Peterson, the Florida Marlins outfielder, is out there in center field. And from the Minnesota Twins, Rene Tassani is in left field. So we're getting to know some more young men as Chris Heisey. A couple of extra base hits in this game, a home run and a double. It's an honor to play in this game. There's no doubt about that. That means you're the best of the up-and-comers. He's the only one ever to have 2 extra base hits in this Rising Stars game.
Well, again, you tip your hat, and I tell you what, I hope he finds a gap right here, because I would love to see him continue just to do what he does. Because I don't think he gets overly excited about it. I think he shows it at the ballpark. He does his work, and he simply expects to play the game the right way. And Lord willing, it means balls fall in and solid at bats and good play in the field. But I think when it's all said and done, you simply look at this young man and think, man, if I were to draw a baseball player, this is what a baseball player would look like.
504th player picked in 06 out of Messiah College in Pennsylvania. As that one is high at 93 miles an hour.
Live arm for a lefty. I tell you what, he came up at the end of this year, did a good job, AA, AAA, ended up getting a cup of coffee there at the end of the year with Boston. And that type of experience in Boston in a pennant race is invaluable. There are things that he's experienced above and beyond a lot of the guys that are out here on the field tonight.
Change up, left it up out over the plate, but the change in velocity enough to keep Heisey off track, or Heisey, I should say, off track.
You got a fastball that tops out at 93 and a changeup there at 80. Anything around 10 miles an hour fluctuation or above is an outstanding change of speed for a guy who's able to throw his fastball well and execute that off-speed pitch.
The Newton, Kansas fireballer comes home, and that one's lifted into the seats.
Let me tell you something. Newton, Kansas, I guarantee you there are a large contingency that are watching him throw right now.
Real.
Newton, Kansas, the Kansans take a lot of pride in the players that come from that area. And having been born there myself, and my brother and my family all coming from Kansas, I guarantee you they're taking a lot of pride in watching this young man throw tonight.
He played his baseball at Texas Tech, and on a pitch that is up, it's chased, but he gets a big strikeout, and everyone cheers in Newton.
They oftentimes they have in a lot of the local papers out there, they'll have their player watch, players that have come from Newton or the local area, and literally they keep track of everything these young guys are doing. So there's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Richardson has a lot of people very happy and very proud of the things he's accomplished so far.
Aren't they proud of you, though, for the job you're doing as an analyst?
As an analyst, I don't know.
Come on.
At this point, I think they might be taking solace that a Newton in and a Newton in are both active at the same point in time on this broadcast.
All right, say that 5 times fast. 1-0 the count to Yonder Alonso, but I love it. Big fella admits that he loved basketball, like I'm sure you did. In Kansas, that part of the country, that's basketball country. Matter of fact, Bobby Knight, when he was the head coach at Texas Tech, had a reality show, and the walk-ons were tracked throughout that. He was one of the stars, if you will, of that reality show Night School. He tried to walk on to Coach Knight's team.
I must admit, I did watch that. I did watch that. Didn't realize Mr. Richardson was there, but I did watch it.
Oh, he was there. He got an earful, I would imagine. Said, you know what? I think I'm a baseball player.
Oh, again, the right decision. It's worked out pretty well for him.
Had a 2.55 ERA this year. He was talking about it. Tony was stopped in AA and then Pawtucket in AAA. 3 games in the big leagues. Hot shot, base hit. Another line drive for Yonder Alonso. We talked about that high line drive rate. We see it again. 3 hits in the game.
It's not that easy, folks. It's not that easy to put the ball in the barrel that often. His hand-eye coordination, his ability to square the ball up is a skill and a talent that not a lot of people have. So tonight, as we watch it, I mean, we saw the highlights and we saw the numbers prior to, but having a chance now to watch it, it's as impressive as anything you'd ever see on a baseball field.
Well, those cheers are for Ike Davis. Local product, slugger, really came into his own. You see what he's doing in the fall league. Came into his own, though, this year in the Mets organization, and he's got some of the folks in the big city talking about the fact that maybe he plays first base in the brand new ballpark, Citi Field, next season.
It's possible. Everything that I've heard, everything that I've read, this young man is polished around the bag already. He's got power. Now, obviously, in that ballpark, it may not play the same way as it does in some other places. But the fact remains that this young man, if he is ready, is someone who's not going to make a whole lot of money coming into his rookie year, but has the possibility of making tremendous contributions to a ballpark and to a ball club that is looking for a spark. Mr. Davis could be that guy as early as next year.
His dad, Ron Davis, you might remember, 11 years in the big leagues as a relief pitcher, mainly the work with Minnesota and the New York Yankees. Part of a Yankees club that went all the way to the World Series in '81, lost to the Dodgers. Hard-working relief pitcher. That's Dad. And hanging around, fouls that one off. This is, for a left-handed power hitter, this is no easy assignment here against a hard-throwing left-handed pitcher.
No, it's not. It's tough to come off the bench when you're a starter.
Thanks a lot, Skip.
Yeah, stepping in here off a lefty who's executing his pitches the way Mr. Richardson is, and simply hope to put together a solid at bat. So finds himself 0-2. Let's see if he can piecemeal this thing together.
The 0-2. Breaking ball is high. Had a line against lefties of 242 with an on base of 301, and he slugged 371. He killed righties. 323, 414, 586. Now, as you can see, lefty against lefty here.
You know what those numbers tell me, Sud, is that when you have somebody who swings the bat as well as he does against righties, the more lefties he sees, I think the more comfortable he will get. If he was not quite as high against righties and still so off the left side, then maybe not. But the fact that he's able to hit the guys from the right side as well as he does simply suggests to me that the more often he sees lefties, the more adjustments he'll make, the more success he'll have.
The Mets player of the year amongst all their minor leaguers, and that's a great point. Breaking ball, how about that? A base hit into right field, as you were saying, Mr. Clark.
Well, again, you know, it's a situation where lefty on lefty, you don't see it a whole lot. You might see it in a bat here or in a bat there. But the more often you see it, the better opportunities you'll have to see, okay, where do I need to pick out that breaking ball? How is this particular lefty's fastball working? Can he throw to this side of the plate? The more at bats you get, the more pitches that you recognize, more often than not, you'll find yourself, when you're as talented as Mr. Davis is, you'll find yourself in a position to be successful going forward because you're simply experiencing those more opportunities and having some success as you go along.
I saw a little bit, and he's got a little bit more power than this young man did when he was coming up. But I saw a little bit of John Olerud in that swing.
I'd buy that.
Body type, too.
I'd buy that. You know, again, talking about these big guys, he's 6'5", 6'6" himself. But I would agree, if you can emulate a guy like John Olerud, you're going to be okay. You're going to be just fine.
1-0 the count to Land Zawadski.
can't help but think we might have to tell it at another point of the John Olerud, Rickey Henderson story. When the two were teammates together, Henderson for a brief time in New York, and then Rickey moved on to another team. As the 1-0 to Zawadzki is high. Henderson got a base hit and got the first and said, oh, you wear a helmet. And obviously Olerud had the scare and the aneurysm when he was a young collegiate at Washington State. He said, you wear a helmet when you play first base. I used to play with a guy when I was in New York that wore a helmet when he played first base. And Olerud looked at him and said, Rickey, that was me. I was the guy.
Yeah.
I love that story. That's a fastball of the way. 3-0 the count. And we say it respectfully with a smile for the Hall of Famer, Rickey Henderson.
No, I had an opportunity to play with Rickey. Just a little side note. An opportunity to play with Rickey in 2002. And I tell you what, it couldn't have been a better teammate. Having an opportunity to sit with him and just pick his head. Anytime you have an opportunity to be around a guy like Rickey or a guy who's kind of been there, done that, take advantage of it. Pick their head, see what the things that they've learned, the things that they've experienced, what possibly you could use to help make yourself a better ball player. There's some things that you won't be able to take. You won't be able to do some of the things that those guys did. But all the while, when you're surrounded by the coaching staff like these guys have here in the Fall League, as well as guys that are tenured, you simply take advantage of it, use what you can use, and apply it to your game. And at the end of the day, you'll be that much better for it.
On a line to center field, running it down out there. Peterson, a nice job, squared it up. Trying to fight their way back in this game and tie it up. They come up empty. 7-6 to score. Nice play here. It's been all about the offense in this Rising Stars game. It got going early. Big bats making their way to the plate. Heisey and Allen all leaving the yard. Line drives galore from that gentleman. Youngsters with Texas Leaguers. Pitchers beware. Truenfell with a homer after fouling a ball off his foot. The Rising Stars game. Early on all offense to pitchers. Thank goodness, taking control. 7-6 to score, but a very special night on both sides.
No, there's no doubt about it. They jumped out of the gate, and like we were talking all along, you know, there are obviously some very gifted guys in the batter's box. There are some gifted guys on the mound too. So you were simply hopeful that over the course of the ball game, things would settle in a little bit.
Chase Darno to lead things off. Young man out of Pepperdine, and a new left-hander on the mound as well, Andrew Oliver. Pitched at Oklahoma State out of Ohio. Had some back and forth with the NCAA. Since in going totally into it, he has made his way to pro ball and ended up winning what was a lawsuit with some time that he lost. So he is back here putting that in the rear view mirror and now pitching professionally. He's got a good arm. Out of Vermillion, Ohio is Oliver. His last 11 innings, he's given up just one run. He was roughed up early on. It's been good work since.
I'll tell you what, in keeping with our theme of guys who are drafted and are now playing professional baseball for the first time, here's another young man. Tremendous stuff. Tremendous stuff. Has had a lot of success in college. And again, moving right into a situation competing against some of the best prospects in baseball.
Fastball is low, 93 miles an hour.
Isn't it amazing that it seems like nowadays every arm that comes out of the bullpen is low to mid-90s?
It does.
Whether you're left-handed or right-handed, doesn't matter.
Darno has that bat. Piece of it break. He earns himself a base hit into right field, and that bat, it died a happy death.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Chase Darno with the hit out of Pepperdine.
Right off the end. Oftentimes you'll see bats snap when you hit them off the handle. Here's a situation where you hit it off the end, and again, hit it where it ain't. Hit it where it ain't. It's not a matter how hard you hit it sometimes, but hit it in that triangle, and it finds a happy place. You're on first.
How about this? Chase Darno, you see him out there. Younger brother of Travis Darno, who's a catcher in the Phillies organization. More brothers.
I'm trying to tell you, Sut, there's something going on. I'm not quite sure what it is, but if you are a brother of somebody playing professional baseball, I would definitely get out in the backyard and start throwing the ball around, because it seems to be a trend these days. Maybe we should start giving some credit to mom and dad.
Yeah, as my father-in-law would say, that's good home training.
There you go.
I think he's speaking of other things when he says that. Like the please and thank yous as that one's on the ground. Backhand firing. There's one on to first. Without a pick, I'm not sure if they would have turned it anyway. But Brandon Hicks, the shortstop, a fabulous play. They talk about his bat being a step behind, but his feet, his glove, and his arm are what will get him to the big leagues.
Well, there's no doubt about it. When you're making tough plays like this to your backside and then turning around and giving the guy at second a feed, to give him a chance at the double play. Again, as you mentioned, it's tough anytime you range into the hole between short and third base to actually turn that double play. But they did an outstanding job of at least giving themselves an opportunity where if he comes up with that pick, they've got a chance.
That's a great job. We've been at it a little bit longer than some of these guys that just came out of the draft. We saw Brian Peterson in center field. Now he gets a chance to hit. The Anteater. UC Irvine is where he played his college baseball a couple of years ago. That program went to the College World Series. He was in the middle of all of it.
You see his numbers here. He's done an outstanding job coming here to the Fall League of taking advantage of the opportunities that he has as well.
It's a nice breaking ball from Oliver. It's a pitch he has been asked, better said told, to work on in the Fall League.
Well, again, you're talking about somebody who has a live arm, and oftentimes it's not the velocity that's the question. It's the execution of the secondary pitches. So when you have an opportunity like this, take advantage of it by working on your deficiencies.
Laser beam, lefty on lefty. That's a thing of beauty. Let it travel deep in his stance. Didn't try to pull it. And Brian Peterson continues a great trip here to the Arizona Fall League.
Hitting 388, 390, 400 is not an accident. There's a lot of pitches that you can cover when you hit the ball that well for that type of average. And here's a situation, lefty on lefty. He stays right with it, drives it right back up the box. Good hitters do exactly that.
Peterson last year playing in A ball and high A. Walked 58 times, struck out more than 100. This year, 50 walks, 66 strikeouts.
Adjustments, time and experience. He's making the adjustments he needs to make. It's great to see.
Jose Iglesias, as we mentioned, we saw him play shortstop. Now he gets a chance to hit for the first time. This is a young man as well. You can see how he is breaking into professional baseball in the United States. Just signed a 4-year major league deal from Havana, Cuba. Fastball is away.
Manos de oro, son. Hands of gold. This young man, I haven't seen him much, but I saw enough of the ground balls that he took earlier today and the one ground ball that he got during the game to realize this man's hands are very special.
Well, the Red Sox really did their research before making a huge financial investment. Oh, electric, 92 miles an hour late on that one. Largest investment ever in an international amateur for the Boston Red Sox. Craig Shipley, former major leaguer, behind the international scouting there, does a fine job for Theo Epstein and his staff. Red Sox Nation saying we want him now.
The last thing that comes oftentimes with a young man that's this talented is going to be his execution at the plate. I think he's more than big league ready in the field. And watching him take BP, there are some things that he does with his hands that are going to allow him to be successful going forward too. But these adjustments here at the plate are going to be the adjustments he needs to make going forward to play every day at the big league level.
Chases a fastball high, 95 at the letters. Goodness, just blows Iglesias away.
Those are tough to catch up to no matter how well you're swinging the bat. But again, you know, and watching the young man, you know, his ability speaks for itself. Obviously, he didn't come through the way he would have liked to here, but the fact remains that at 19 years old, he will continue to progress. His hands, his swing are fine. He'll make some fine-tuning things going forward, and he'll have some success as he moves along.
Right down the middle at 95.
Somebody settled in, it looks like.
And the scouts speak, if you will, and I quote, the fastball to get it by just about any hitter right now. Talking about Oliver. Not a great breaking ball yet, according to some scouts. Good fastball, but you can see he's working on the breaking ball.
No, there's no doubt about it. You don't want to lose your strength, and the realization is that obviously his fastball is his strength. All the while, when you get to the big leagues, you're not going to be in a situation where you can just continue to pump fastballs. You've got to keep them off balance enough to where maybe they're a little off or a little behind, or they foul that fastball off. And if it's the breaking ball, great. If it's a changeup, great. You need something to change speeds with.
The 1-1. He gave it a try there. 2-1 the count, just a flat breaking ball. From Vermillion, Ohio. He's 21 years old, so there's plenty of time. He'll be turning 22 on December the 3rd. Snyder 0 for 3. Having a big fall league, though. 18 RBIs in 16 games. Runners take off. The throw down. He swiped it, and right behind, a stolen base as well. How about that?
Well, I tell you what, you're glad that they went when they did if they were going to go. As a hitter, when you see that type of movement, especially with 2 outs, one of the first things you do is take. And you'll see him take this fastball in the outer half here. The realization is that, you know, it's obviously better to hit with guys on second and third than it is on first and second. But the fact remains, if you run with 2 strikes, oftentimes the hitter still does the same thing. He ends up taking the pitch in a situation where he needs to be aggressive. So if you're going to go, make sure you go before 2 strikes. So if that hitter does take that pitch, he doesn't put himself in a tough spot.
So the right decision made. 2-2 the count to Snyder.
Now, of course, the other end of that coin, or other side of that coin, is if you're going to try and steal with 2 outs, you better make it.
Yeah, you had better make it. I agree with you. And Weeks with 6 stolen bases. 6. He had 9 all summer long. The 2-2 from Oliver. Off speed, a work in progress.
No, there's no doubt. But that's why we're polishing. We're at finishing school. That's exactly where he's at right now. Obviously has a big league arm. Now it's just a matter of refining and polishing up those things that he's going to need to be successful for a long period of time at the big league level.
I'm not overlooking you, Jason Castro. We saw you for a moment there in the center of the shot. A great block there with a runner on third. Pitchers love that. 3-2. Fastball lost it.
He's put himself in a tough spot here, obviously, with the bases loaded and 2 outs. A situation where, you know, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. These are those times where, okay, I want to work on my breaking ball. It's kind of tough in a tight ball game, in the middle innings, middle of the latter half of the game, to try and break something out that you don't have 100% confidence in. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does here with the bases loaded and 2 outs. If he comes right after Mr. Tassani or tries to continue to work on that off-speed stuff.
Rene with 15 home runs this season. Goes after the first pitch, pops it up. Back of second base. A quartet come together of the home team, the West team. Danks, I should say, puts it away. I got it. You take it. MLB Network's new season begins this week. Wednesday night, relive baseball's seasons, unforgettable years on and off the field. This week, 1986, when baseball said hello to Bo. Fernando Valenzuela won 21, and the Mets cashed in a World Series miracle. Baseball's seasons, 1986, Wednesday at 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on MLB Network. All of baseball, all year long. Oh, but those poor Angels in 1986. Speaking of the Angels, he can make it all better. Hank Conger goes to work behind home plate. Now, that's a big fella, Hank is. As is the man at first. He comes in. He's already homered in this game. Brandon Allen is the new first baseman.
Son, have you ever met anybody that's small named Hank?
No, I haven't. Chase Darno is at third. Come to think of it, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I can't think of anything. This is not a small guy either. This is Andrew Johnston out of Mizzou, the pride of St. Louis, Missouri. The same combo, St. Louis to Mizzou, that produced Max Scherzer, who pitches in the big leagues for the Arizona Diamondbacks out here locally. But we're very excited that Hank Conger is behind the plate. As he frames up that fastball to another gentleman, Matt McBride, who gets a chance to hit now. Jason Castro's spot. McBride may stay in and catch. Out of Lehigh University in Bethlehem, PA, in Pennsylvania. Heavy, heavy stuff. 0-2 the count. 96 and heavy.
Once again, another guy coming out of the bullpen. Now he was 5th in the minor leagues in saves. You know, so here's another guy where, although it's earlier in the ball game, you know, he's had success closing out games. A number of the guys that we brought in here in the middle of the ball game have a history of closing out ball games. Andrew is the same way. When you're featuring a 96, 97 mile-an-hour fastball, you can see why.
That one is away. Not big strikeout numbers this season for Johnston. 53 2/3, 38 strikeouts, Double-A Tulsa, but all he has to do is just let that ball eat, let it sink, and there's your ground ball.
It seems heavy. I don't know how to explain this, but it sounds heavy. Oftentimes, you saw the breaking ball there to get that third strike. Oftentimes, a guy, you know, you see that type of velocity, the ball's jumping at you. And here's a situation where it seems like with Mr. Johnston that at 93 to 96 and that movement that he has on his fastball, the pop that you hear in the glove, it sounds heavy. And when a ball sounds heavy, it feels different when it hits the bat. It's not one of those situations where, you know, you meet up with a guy throwing 96, 97, the ball flies off the bat. Sometimes it can feel like that ball, as heavy as it is, stops your swing.
Brandon Hicks has already done a fine job defensively. He goes to work now, gets a chance to hit as he fouls that one off. And when you're throwing everything heavy, as you're explaining it to all of us as a hitter, and you throw an ugly slider like you did, it may be just as effective just because of the change of velocity. Do you ever get in the box as a hitter and say, okay, I'm going to look for a hanging slider now?
No. There are times where you'll go to the plate.
You might hit it.
Yeah, you might. If most of the time, if you're in position to hit the fastball, you'll give yourself a chance on the bad breaking ball. If a pitcher throws a good breaking ball, you can look for it as much as you want, and you're going to have some difficulty having some success. But if you go to the plate looking hard and he hangs a breaking ball, he leaves the off-speed pitch up over the plate, you're going to be in a good position to put the barrel of the bat on it and take my chances from there.
There's the movement we're talking about.
That's 93 miles an hour. That's a lot of movement on a fastball that's being thrown that hard.
Hank wants to make sure that's a fastball.
It's understandable. That's understandable. That ball moved a country mile.
Pitch is high. Slider, 2-2 the count. He didn't get away with that one. Hicks out of Texas A&M, Pasadena High School in Houston, Texas. 3rd round draft pick in 07. More life on that one. Hanging on with the tag. That's an out.
Oftentimes, too, said you'll see a guy who's throwing 93 to 96, and his ball may flatten out a little bit, but when he throws at that 91, 92, that 91 like that last pitch, he gets more movement at the lower velocity.
This is what you're talking about there. Here is Casper Wells. Wells had a real breakout season in 08, hitting 18 homers, on base plus slugging of nearly 1,000. Took a step back this season in 09. He had an injury missing April and May, but he's back and he's tearing this fall league up.
Well, he can play, and again, we talked a little bit about injuries early on and how they can derail a talented player. I don't care how gifted you are, if you can't get on the field and perform, it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve the level of success that you're necessarily looking to achieve. So with a guy like Casper, or anybody really that's out on this field, when you're battling through injuries, you're going to have a tough time performing at the level you're capable of. So it's nice to see him healthy back on the field and simply doing what he can do.
We love to be able to throw a pitch like that 2-0 and get a swing and a miss. 2-1 the count. Wells at Towson University in Maryland. So again, a tip of the cap to the scout that found him. Bill Buck was the scout that found him with the Detroit organization. 419 other players were picked ahead of him in 05. Hot shot to third. Darno, a little sidearm shot across the diamond. 1, 2, 3. Very solid work, Mr. Andrew Johnston. Bright lights, about 30 minutes outside of the big city here in Phoenix, Arizona, here in Surprise, Arizona. Spring training home of the Kansas City Royals Texas Rangers. Tonight, the home of the Rising Stars game in the Arizona Fall League as Danny Gutierrez, Los Angeles-born, Riverside raised, goes to work. You can see what he has done in the Arizona Fall League. Behind home plate, Matt McBride. We saw Matt hit earlier. Matt now goes to work, and he will catch from the Cleveland Indians organization. Over at first, Ike Davis now gets a chance. Arizona State University, maybe Citi Field, as we talked about earlier. And Carlos Rivero is at third. Indians organization, young man out of Venezuela. All right, we're set. We hope you are. Gutierrez splitting time between high A and double A. Pours a fastball in there for strike one. Sounds like he's got some fans down there. Well, you grew up in LA. That's just a short drive away. Shoulder problems had him on the DL for quite some time. Fastball, 94 in there for a strike.
This young man this year spent time in A ball and double A, had a lot of success. Not really an overpowering guy. Not a whole lot of strikeouts per inning pitch. 28 for 32 and a third inning pitch. But the fact remains, as you see him strike out Brandon Allen there on a breaking ball, the fact remains that he's been getting people out. 171 batting average against this year between both places, A ball and double A. He's had some success.
Fastball, 12-6. Knee buckling, breaking ball. Oh, they're not going anywhere. They'll get that figured out. The new ownership group of the Chicago Cubs and City of Mesa, they may be touching it up a little bit. But this is Hank Conger, and he takes a strike over the outside. Big Hank. Juan Choi is his given name. His grandfather nicknamed him Hank because his grandfather lives in Atlanta. I think there was someone named Hank.
There you go.
My goodness, what a bender, 0-2.
That's reason enough for me. I grew up a huge Hank Aaron fan. It wasn't until later that I realized that the content of the man's character was more valuable than what he did on the field. So I remained a huge Hank Aaron fan.
Breaking ball, 3 pitches. Gutierrez, A+ stuff. The week 2 pitcher of the week here in the Arizona Fall League, and the Southern California contingency loving it.
Well, I said earlier that his strikeouts per innings pitched weren't real high, but he has proven me wrong with the 6 or 7 pitches he's thrown so far here in the top of the 7th inning.
Just before the end of the season, he was traded from Kansas City to the Texas organization. And at the end of the minor league season, he made just 5 starts in 09. You see all those strikeouts in his career, too. He's a big-time ground ball pitcher. Put all that together, you've got winning stuff.
I'll tell you what, he's got good velocity on his fastball. You saw 97 there, and he's been living at about 93, 94. So he's got a live arm, and you combine that with that breaker he's featuring tonight, he's a handful.
Fastball just missed the inside corner. 2-1 to count.
Sounded like a strike, didn't it?
It certainly did. Missed some time, April to July, on the disabled list with some shoulder problems. Fastball, 2-2 the count.
Pass list is in full effect. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, family in attendance. Some friends made the trip over. If he strikes out the side, I may even be a fan. The 2-2. Breaking ball bounces in there.
You know, you don't see a lot of guys throw a true 12-6 anymore. You'll see guys throw that little sharp slider or more of a slurve. And what I mean by 12-6 is a ball that starts at 12 o'clock and drops to 6 o'clock straight down. You just don't see a lot of guys that throw that anymore.
Yikes. 96 miles an hour. And he lost.
Big fella.
Good fella worked himself a walk. Now with 2 outs, tight ball game. They've got the lead. Some point in time during his at bat, it wouldn't surprise me to see if he tries to take off again and gets himself in scoring position here with 2 outs.
Yeah, especially with a power pitcher trying to blow hitters away. I would imagine a little bit easier to run on. 22 years old, Danny Gutierrez. Sink on that one, it's low. It'll be 23 spring training time, and that rolls around. Rubidoux High School in Riverside. On a line, diving attempt. It gets by Zawatsky and into right field. Brown stumbles a bit heading to third, but he's in there with a head first slide. So a couple of big strikeouts, a lot of noise being made. Now the noise right back at you, says the East squad.
Tell you what, that was a nice piece of hitting right there. Didn't try to do too much with this fastball away. Simply shot it in the direction it wanted to go anyway. Almost made a great play there at second, but again, hustling. Dom hitting from first to third there. I tell you what, it must be nice at 6'6" to lengthen out and take all of 6 strides in between bases.
And that's exactly what he did. So now Jameel Weeks gets his 4th plate appearance. He walked, grounded out, reached on a fielder's choice. Strike 1.
Best pitch in the game, son.
Changes the entire scene for a hitter, doesn't it?
And I tell you what, at the plate, when you're 0-1 instead of 1-0, your whole perspective changes. As opposed to trying to work yourself back into the at-bat. When you're sitting there 0-1, you can simply settle and look for a pitch that you can do something with. When you go 0-1, just like Mr. Weeks did right there, you end up swinging at a ball you wouldn't necessarily want to swing at. It's not a strike, but now you're on your heels a little bit because the realization is you're facing a guy with great stuff, and the last thing you want to do is work from behind. So this next pitch, I got to be ready to go. I expand my zone. Now I find myself 0-2 with 2 outs.
No balls and 2 strikes as mentioned. Runners on first and third. Curveball, got it. It all started with strike 1. He struck out to side. You know they love it. Glad to have you back at the Rising Stars game for the Arizona Fall League. Of course, we've talked about the major leaguers that have made their way through this league, like Garrett Anderson, like Alfonso Soriano. I think Jose Iglesias, by the way, viewed in a very similar way. Roy Halladay. Domination, the Arizona Fall League Hall of Fame being inducted on November 18th. Brian Giles, a who's who of Major League players, and of course Mike Scioscia, former Fall League manager, is a member of the Hall of Fame as well.
It's a pretty solid group, Sut. Pretty solid group of managers and players. Pretty special that they all came through the same place.
Blake Parker goes to work. Parker, the Mesa Solar Sox, Chicago Cubs. Arkansas native, Cubs 16th round pick a couple of years back out of Arkansas. Grew up in the area. The other way, base hit for Danks. Pretty piece of hitting.
That was nice. Fastball away, especially off a guy you haven't seen much of. To be able to shoot that ball the other direction, that's pretty darn good by Mr. Danks right there. You know what? I tell you, you're facing a lot of closers. Mr. Parker here is another closer. Had a lot of success during the course of the season. Finished 5th in the PCL this year with 22 saves. So you're talking about another guy who's used to closing out games. And as a hitter, when you're facing a guy who's used to closing out games, there is no reason to wait. There's a reason he's closing out games, and that's because his stuff is above par. So when you step in the batter's box off of these guys, even though it's not in the 9th inning right now, you need to try to be aggressive on the first fastball you see so that you don't allow him to get to the stuff that eventually affords him the opportunity to get a lot of guys out.
We saw that earlier, didn't we? The end of the last inning, getting strike 1 against Jameel Weeks. 1-1 the count. Parker Reyes back and fires it in there.
Well, obviously you can see one of his plus pitches is his fastball. Even though Mr. Danks came up and shot that first pitch fastball the other way, he was not scared to come right back in with it here in the with the next at bat.
Carlos Rivero signed professionally with Cleveland at 16 years old. And he looks at a strike. Attendance at the ball game tonight, 4,550 for the Rising Stars game. Last year, 2,765. 2 years ago, a bit over 4,000, 2,306. So nice numbers. But we want more. Boy, nice job locking that one up.
Right, that's
my
right.
guy Hank, by the way.
Tell you what, they had a very interesting pitching combination there in Mike Napoli and Jeff Mathis in Anaheim this year. It's going to be interesting to see where Hank fits in. They got a lot of contributions defensively from Mr. Mathis, although a lot offensively come playoff time. And Knapp did an outstanding job all year long of producing at the plate. So the guy in Hank who did an outstanding job of blocking that last ball you saw.
Hanging breaking ball, fly ball left field. Rene Tassoni is there, and he makes the play for the out.
Just to see where, finishing that thought, just to see where Hank fits in. So obviously I hope it doesn't deter him from doing what he needs to do, but all the while I know how Soch has an affinity for catchers, so if he continues to perform well behind the plate, I got to believe they'll find a spot for him.
Here's Chris Heisey. Homer, 2-run shot back in the first inning. First couple of runs of this ball game. For the West squad. He then doubled and scored in the third inning, struck out in the fifth. 7-6, the East holding tight. The zeros in the fourth and in the fifth and in the sixth and now in part of the seventh. Hank blocks it up, comes up, makes the right decision there. Danks moved up.
Now, you know what's interesting, Sud, is the first couple of hitters, you saw him pump nothing but fastballs. Nothing but fastballs. However, the first two pitches here are both breaking balls. Is he working on it? Perhaps. Is he showing Mr. Heisley some respect? Perhaps. But a situation, again, where you got a closer that usually comes in and announces his authority or announces his presence with authority with that fastball, throwing two first pitch breaking balls. Now he finds himself behind a guy who's swinging the bat really well, sitting 2-0 here late in the ball game.
Pitches in. 3-0 the count. A lot of room in right center field. They're playing. Peterson is certainly Heisey to pull. Big old ballpark. All these spring training ballparks are. And on 3-0. That's high. It's ball 4. He's put himself in a bit of a bind now.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot, although like you pitchers used to always suggest, he's one pitch away from being out of this thing. So continues to execute that fastball. I would expect him trying to work ahead a little bit here with that fastball. Get a hard ground ball right at somebody and see if they can get out of this inning.
Yonder Alonso this year playing in 3 different leagues. Great contact guy. Swings through that one.
Of course, you know that's why I said hard ground ball, because there's an above average chance that he's going to square this thing up.
And he has done it all night long. We talked about that high line drive rate earlier this season. 41 walks, just 46 strikeouts. Outside.
It's a rare combination set. A guy who's able to hit the ball in the gaps, hit for some power, but does not strike out a whole lot. Those guys are pretty special. You like to hold on to those guys.
The 1-1. Out of the catcher's mitt, he takes that one, so the count 1-2. When his family defected from Cuba 14 years ago in 1995, this young man was just 8, His parents, each of them, had to work 2 jobs just to make it, night and day, just to take care of their family. Now he gets a chance to give back. With a breaking ball, a nasty one for a guy who most always makes contact. A nasty, nasty breaking ball there, though.
Tip my hat to Mr. Parker. That's an outstanding job of keeping a guy who's been swinging the bat unbelievably well out of a position to do a whole lot of damage that at bat. Tip your hat to Mr. Parker right there.
So here's Ike Davis. It was a fun little fundraiser last night. His college coach over at Scottsdale Stadium across town, Pat Murphy, put together a fundraiser for the Crossroads, one of the local charitable organizations here. And Ike Davis put on a power display with a wood bat in his hands. Now, some of his former teammates, who will go unnamed, one in particular, decided to use an aluminum bat and kept hitting him out, earned his way into the finals to this fundraising home run derby with Ike Davis. I said over the PEI, I helped announce it. Ike, you can grab an aluminum bat if you'd like. No, I'll pass. Continue to crush homers with a wood bat.
I see, that doesn't surprise me. The special ones, it doesn't matter. Whether he's got aluminum or wood in his hand, he's going to hit him further than most.
And so he won that special night fundraising home run derby with that wood bat.
He's a gamer. That's what gamers do.
1-1 the count. Chaparral High School. Local spot, then off to Arizona State. You can see the representation there. The 1-1. Changeup. Dandy pitch.
So now we're talking about a closer who's low to mid 90s with a changeup and a breaking ball and able to execute all 3. That's going to lead to a lot of success for Mr. Parker going forward.
The 1-2. I mean, it's not those white shoes that'll lead to success.
Well, sometimes they can help. They get you in that sexy place. You're feeling good about yourself with your white shoes. Hey, you never know.
See, there's some old school shoes. Mr. Parker's, those are almost stepping out shoes that he's wearing. I like it. 1-2 the count. You knew I wouldn't hold my tongue.
I know.
The 1-2. Nice job, Hank, locking it up. You know Soch likes that.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Handle my staff, young man, and we can do great things.
Tiger Angels first-round pick in 2006, 25th pick overall. It's all about Ike Davis now, though. As that one is high, fastball from Parker. So the count is full. That means the runners will be in motion with the West squad trailing by a run.
A well-placed ball right here scores 2 easily. This is one of those key outs, those key spots during the course of the game. You have them from time to time early, you have them from time to time late. Well, here is one of them. You go full with 2 outs. Bases loaded, put yourself in a spot where you put the go-ahead run on second base.
3-2 pitch to Davis with the runners going on the ground. Gobbled it up. Brandon Allen right to the bag. The visitors, so to speak, the East, holding tight to a 7-6 lead here in Surprise, Arizona. You're watching the Arizona Fall League Rising Stars game, and you won't have to wait until spring for more exciting live baseball action. MLB Network presents the Arizona Fall League Championship game. Don't miss Tony Clark and Victor Rojas live coverage on Saturday, November 21st at 2:30 Eastern on MLB Network. All of baseball, all year long. Who will win the ring? Speaking of rings, I wonder if this gentleman, he'll get a ring. I wonder how that works out. You know the inner workings of the clubhouse. He had 4 appearances with the big club. He's a left-hander. He's been at it for a while, 27 years old, because he started as an outfielder with the Yankees, now a pitcher. His name's Michael Dunn.
I got to believe he's going to get a ring. Anytime you make a contribution during the course of the season in the big leagues, you're going to put yourself in a position to to be voted a ring. And although your playoff shares may be a little tainted because you were only there a short period of time, you made a contribution to that ball club winning the World Championship during the season. Give Mr. Dunn a ring.
I like it. As that fastball dives down and away. Brian Peterson singled back in the 7th inning. As we mentioned, Dunn drafted medium to low round picks. Matter of fact, 28th round pick back in 04 as an outfielder out of Community College of Southern Nevada. 999th player pick. Hit 160 in the outfield. They said, well, you've got a good arm, and here he is.
You can't teach 94 to 96, and that's what his first 2 pitches have been tonight, especially from the left side. It may have taken him a little while, but it looks like he's found his niche.
Fires a strike, and you betcha. He was converted to a full-time reliever this season. 99 strikeouts in 77 innings. That's 12.2 strikeouts, that is, per 9. A little tapper, and it's fouled back to the screen. His battery mate, Matt McBride, hops up, couldn't find it.
That's what you call a power arm set. Again, you can't teach 94, 95 miles an hour. Oftentimes when you're a convert going from being a position player to a pitcher, one of the last things that tends to come is your ability to throw a consistent breaking ball. Him having that many strikeouts in that short amount of innings tells me that he has found the ability not just to pump 94, 95, 96 right there on that fastball, but to occasionally, at least occasionally, execute a breaking ball to keep people honest.
2-2 the count. There it is, electric. That's strike 3, 94 miles an hour. You can see why they made the decision and why they're giving him a chance at 27.
I tell you what, I got to believe he's happy they made the decision too.
He wasn't initially, but he is now.
Well, initially you still want to prove that you can perform as a position player, but at the end of the day, like I said, he made the big leagues as a reliever. Lord willing to get himself a ring as a reliever. He may continue to have a long career, even though it starts here at 27 years old, as a left-handed reliever.
And folks, the world's about to stop because a Yankee is pitching against a member of the Boston Red Sox. 96, that last pitch. Fouls that one off. You had a chance to wear both uniforms.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. A privilege to wear both of them as well. Wore Boston first in 02. Difficult year, but had an opportunity as the first team that I played with beyond Detroit, which is kind of where I grew up. Then had an opportunity to play with the Mets and then with the Yankees the following year, 03, 04. So that 3-year window, had a chance to hit all 3 of them.
Wow. Pitch is high, 1-2 the count. Jose Iglesias, 5'11", 175. He's 19 out of Havana in Cuba. He got strike 3, backed off a little bit. A little variation of a breaking ball, back-to-back strikeouts. Good evening, Mr. Iglesias.
Like I said, it just simply has to be decent. As he continues to progress, I guarantee you that breaking ball or off-speed pitch will continue to get sharper and sharper. But the fact remains, when you're going 94 to 96 consistently with that fastball, you locate it, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to get some people out.
Another line drive hitter here, and Brandon Snyder. As he takes a strike from the left-hander. His 4th plate appearance. He's 0 for 3. There's that first hit. There's that line drive as we were talking about. It rears its head just in time against Michael Dunn.
How does it work out that you happen to mention an offer at that point in time, and that very next pitch he gets a base hit? Does that happen a lot?
It does, and the color analyst who really is trying to rub the play-by-play guy a little bit, give him the business, would remind him if it hurt the team that's all your fault. You say pitcher X hasn't given up a home run in his last 4 starts. As it's coming out of your mouth, the ball's going out of the ballpark. And it's. I take no responsibility, all the credit and no blame.
And no blame. I like it.
There's a strike, lefty on lefty. Rene Tassone, young man out of Toronto, played his college baseball at Chipola Junior College down in the Pensacola area, Panhandle area of Florida. He's 23 years old. Bouncing ball, not an easy chance. Zawadzki makes the play, and Zawadzki ends the inning. The left-hander, the veteran, Michael Dunn, rolls right through it. Glad to have you back. Surprise Stadium, Arizona Fall League Rising Stars game. We're proud to be joined by the director of the Arizona Fall League, Steve Cobb, joins us up here in the broadcast booth. And this ball game, Steve, it's had just about everything. It has had all kinds of fun and offense early on. Now it's had some fabulous pitching. Some of the best young relief pitchers in all of baseball have been starting their stuff. About 5,000 fans in attendance. Congratulations. I would imagine a great night for you.
This has been very rewarding, and thank you very much. The fans have responded, and the players obviously are responding and will continue to do so.
So I'm watching, and it's very, very cold where I may be watching, as you see Drew Storen. We'll tell you a little bit more about him, despite the fact that we know he has fabulous numbers, and it's very cold. And I'm making the decision next year that I might come see that Fall League. Maybe I don't go to spring training this time. I switch it up and go to the Fall League. Tell me, if I'm coming from Rhode Island, why I need to come and spend a week or so watching Fall League baseball.
Well, if you're a baseball fan, you can come pretty much count on excellent weather here, but you'll get a chance to see players from all 30 organizations and just excellent competition. So it's just a different view of our game, but it's every organization is showcased here.
And you guys juggled the schedules a little bit. The 12:35 starts, 6:35 starts, very great start times as well. So there's a couple day games and a night game every day but a Sunday.
Normally we'll have 2 day games and a night game, so it's a chance to see 2 games in one day. And for the scouts, it's particularly attractive because they'll get a chance to see up to 20 organizations in one day.
Well, Steve, it seems to be accommodating for everybody. As a fan, you have an opportunity to spend $6 and see a great ball game, a great group of guys that there's no doubt in the coming years you're going to see on TV. So having an opportunity to see that quality of baseball for $6, you bring the whole family out. It's a nice atmosphere. Spring training ballparks, so they're beautiful ballparks. It's just an absolute pleasure and a privilege as a fan to have the opportunity to come to the Fall League. I know it's been up and running now for it's the 18th season, but having an opportunity to come out and be a part of this is some kind of special.
Well, we're very proud of the fact that we try to be very family friendly, and our cost structure is very reasonable, and you can sit anywhere you want to sit in the ballpark. So it's a great opportunity for baseball fans around the country to really see the up and coming stars.
Let me introduce you folks quickly to Drew Storen. We talked about the fact that these Nationals are certainly excited about Stephen Strasburg. This is another reason. Drew Storen picked this year, first round out of Stanford, as that one is a pounded foul. 10th overall pick. He was picked earlier in his high school career by the New York Yankees, but Storen went ahead and signed up quickly. He was one of the young men that grabbed his contract. The terms were right, and he signed up, and he had 3 different stops, a 1.95 ERA. Tony, he struck out 49 in 37 innings. He didn't let it drag out. He went to work.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you start talking about guys wanting to get after it and get their career started. He wanted to do just that. He got a deal that was in the best interest of everybody involved, got out on the field, and is making a movement through an organization that is full of opportunity and promise for a young pitcher. So I tip my hat to Mr. Storen and look forward to seeing him soon in a big league uniform.
On the ground, Weeks on a backhand, can't hold on. Imagine Zawadzki will be given a base hit on that one. And that is the ruling, as Jemiah Weeks charged in, just couldn't hold on. Steve, as we see this play one more time, Tony.
That's a tough play. Anytime you've got a guy coming in full speed and having to grab and throw in one motion, not to mention the young man at the plate being able to run the way he's capable of running, it speeds everything up and makes that play extremely difficult, especially on the transfer like you just saw.
It's interesting, Steve, too, the makeup of this fall league. You get a young man like Drew Storen. You get some of these young men who haven't played at all, like Dustin Ackley, as professionals. But then there's a mixed bag. There's Michael Dunn, who's 27 years old. I think this year, more than any other year, a very diverse fall league. They're all talented, but some guys are really knocking on the big league door. Some may be a year or two away, but elite talents.
It's very diverse and it's very deep, and that's what I would say about the talent base this year, that we have so many quality players at virtually every position. And I think what you're seeing here on the back end of this game are the quality arms that we have.
Matt McBride drives it deep left field. Going back to Sonny. To the wall. It's out of here. And with one big swing of the bat, the home team on the west side of the valley grabs the lead. The score is 8-7. McBride will touch them all.
Seth, there's a rumor going around that somebody happened to mention that before this night was over that the final score may end up being 8-7. Would you have any idea who might have mentioned that?
I think you just want free tickets. That's how that works.
Well, I got to tell you, after the seventh inning, or after the first inning when 7 runs were scored, I was standing beside Jimmy Lee Solomon, and I said to my boss, I said, this one's going to end up 8-7, and he thought I was absolutely crazy. And I'm just grateful that at least at some point it's 8-7.
Right on the money. Ground ball to third. A handcuff there. Darno fires it on across, and Hicks is erased. But a long home run there by Matt McBride. And it's fun too, because look, first, second, third round picks out here. Also guys that made their way from small colleges like Messiah College, a great story there in Chris Heisey. But this is speaking to the elite level of talent right here with this graphic. You see all the high picks. Wells takes a pitch that dives away. 1-0 the count.
I think the most interesting thing to keep in mind here is that these players are here because their organizations selected them, and they have earned the right to be here in the Arizona Fall League by their past performance this past year.
Steve, we remarked earlier talking about how 60% of the players that play here in the Fall League end up playing in the big leagues at some point in time. So the combination platter of the big league teams picking these players and these players producing is above reproach when it comes to the level of talent that you see here in the Fall League year in and year out.
60% after 17 complete years. I mean, that's almost 2 out of 3, obviously, and I give the organizations tremendous credit because they are sending their better players, their better prospects here. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have those types of numbers.
And when you visit and you're a baseball fan and you make the trip out here, went around on a breaking ball and clearing himself and nearly firing that away. Come on now, Hank. He did a nice job blocking that ball up. So a big strikeout there, and the score 8-7.
I'll tell you what, as a first baseman, just to talk real quick on that play, that's an uncomfortable play to make when that ball's running into the baseline with the runner bearing down on you. So a good play by Hank knocking that ball down, and a good play by Brandon Allen staying in there and finishing out that play.
He's just going to make the point, Steve, as Tony made a real valid one there. It's easy to get around. You know, you come visit this Fall League, you spend a week out here, you're going to see just about every ballpark, just about every player in the league in 4 or 5 days' time. And I think that's maybe different than making a trip to Florida. There's no league like this in Florida, but even in spring training, it's nice the proximity of these ballparks.
It's very compact. It's very fan-friendly, and most of these ballparks are state-of-the-art, just like the Surprise Stadium. It has everything that you'd ever want in a spring training facility.
The 0-2. There's a new ballpark popping up here in a couple of years over in Scottsdale for Colorado and Arizona, the Goodyear Ballpark. You guys ever juggle around concepts, play with ideas about playing different places?
Oh, sure. Last week, for instance, we played in Goodyear, and this coming week we'll be playing in Glendale at the new Dodger White Sox spring training site.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cobb. Congratulations on a very big night.
Thank you so much.
Steve Cobb, the director of the Fall League, came on and he predicted this score. I don't know about it. They may be drifting off into dreamland, telling some stories a bit, but I think they'll all sit up and take notice when they watch this next young arm go to work. His name is Craig Kimbrell. And you want to talk about a young man with gifts, young man out of Huntsville, Alabama, Wallace State Community College. He is a Brave. He grew up as a Braves fan. Big time strikeout pitcher. Misses a lot of bats. Works out of the bullpen. Kimbrell this year, 49 games, 18 saves, 60 innings pitched, 103 strikeouts. Fastball, slider, both electric.
Rumor has it he has the best fastball in the Atlanta organization. Now, I tell you what, we've seen a handful of guys throwing mid-90s all night. I am pretty excited to see this fastball as well.
And it's from a little bit of a lower arm angle. Throws everything at you as he pours that one over the outside at 91. 0-1 the count. Brandon Allen homered earlier in this ball game. 3-run shot back in the first inning. Fastball 0-2, 96.
With his arm angle like that, when his ball is down, I've got to believe it runs and sinks pretty good. When it's up, I got to believe it takes off. He gets underneath his fastball, and at 96, there's nowhere for it to go but up.
Fastball runs away. Those of you that follow the game statistically, two things: K rates and walk rates. 15 strikeouts per 9 as a pro, 6 walks per 9 as a pro. The 1-2. Late on that one.
That's a whole lot of guys coming to the plate and not putting the ball in place up.
Only 47 hits in 95 innings and only 2 home runs allowed. Career ERA of below 2.
Tell you what, those type of numbers over the long haul are going to give you a chance to play in the big leagues.
Here comes a slider on 1-2. 2-2 the count. Put down the 3 fingers behind home plate did McBride. Allen struck out a couple of times. Popped up as well after that home run. Brandon out of Conroe, Texas. Not too far outside of Houston. First big league hit was in Houston this year against Brian Moeller on August 22nd with his family in the stands.
You don't draw that up any better.
The pitch is high. I'll never forget. Truth be told, the team I covered, Mr. Allen plays for. His father was invited into the players' dining area after that game to eat with his son by the hitting coach, Jack Howell. And as that one is high. That's one thing, though he has been hitting below 200 for a while this spring. We saw the power. Allen has been doing a lot of that. He leads the fall league in walks.
Well, I tell you what, we talked earlier about experience and at-bats and seeing pitches. His ability to see pitches, recognize what he can hit, what he can't hit, is only going to help him be more successful. If his focus this fall league has been simply to, let me see how many pitches I can see per at bat, continue to be aggressive, but let me just recognize pitches, he's going to be better for it.
Personally, a dream matchup for me here. With the arm of Kimbrell and the big power of Hank Conger. Young man out of Huntington Beach High School. Out of a very special Ocean View Little League team in Southern California. Prior to that, how you take that slider, I'm not quite sure. 1-1.
There comes a point in time during your approach when you realize I could swing at it, but there's no way in heck I could hit it. So I might as well try and stop it if I can, and that's looked like exactly what Hank did right there.
The 1-1. That pitch is low. 2-1 the count.
And in doing so and taking that next pitch fastball, he finds himself 2-1. Much better hitter's count than sitting 0-2, obviously.
Well, we are now living basically the career of Craig Kimbrell and how he gets through innings. I mean, we told you about the walks and the strikeouts and the electric stuff. The 2-1. Broke his bat, fly ball. Easy chance out there. Wells, Casper Wells, makes the play from the Tigers organization.
You know what, son, as a former pitcher, how do you work on your control?
Well, it's a little tougher, I think, as a relief pitcher. You know, that's something that you have to do not in the bullpen, but in spring training or on flat ground in the outfield. And these are guys that have to get it done in spring training, or they're just playing catch in the outfield, kind of going through your mechanics. And just like hitting, Tony, I mean, with all of your successes, you can ask me, but I'll ask a longtime major league hitter as that one shot down the line it goes. It's the right approach, but there to make the play is Heisey as he hauls that one in. Dominic Brown doubled, walked, and has been retired on 3 other occasions. Isn't part of it mental, though, with command?
A lot of it, I got to believe, is. Now, obviously, I never pitched, but at the plate, you know, being able to put yourself in the right frame of mind with respect to your approach and what you're trying to do when you step in the batter's box, obviously gives you a better opportunity as a hitter to execute your game plan. I got to believe the same thing is representative on the mound as well.
So one last chance here, trying to hang on. Chase d'Arnaud, as that one dives down and away. 1-0 the count. The long ball of the man working with Kimbrel as his battery mate, Matt McBride. The difference in this ball game so far. Stayed for the longest time at 7-6. Remember, the East grabbed a 7-0 lead. The West trying to win it, 8-7. There's his battery mate McBride firing it on down and moving up. And Allen is now a single away from having this game be tied up.
That's a big play. That is a big play for obvious reasons. Now you've got a guy in scoring position, but you've got a first baseman out there on first base, recognizes the ball in the dirt and is aggressive getting to second. Right now, a ball off the end of the bat, a jam shot, a bobble, anything can put this run across and make it 8-8 very quickly.
d'Arnaud with a couple of singles since he has come on. Out of Pepperdine. 4th round pick of the Pirates in 08. There's that slider on 2-0.
The equalizer. The ability to throw that hard and yet break off a breaking ball 2-0. It's a big pitch. Big pitch in a big spot.
You see Allen, bottom part of your picture. That's the tying run. The East squad, the visiting squad, all wearing their road uniforms, as on 2-1 the slider is away.
Now you're sitting there and you're thinking, that's 2 sliders in a row as a hitter. He threw one 2-0. Will he throw one to me 3-1? Obviously 2-0, he feels like he's got command of it, but does he have enough command to throw 3 in a row and try and get strike 2 right here? And honestly, if I'm a hitter, I'm sitting dead red. Sitting dead red. Daring him to throw this slider right here for a strike.
Dead red means looking for a fastball. On 3-1, he got the fastball. That's strike 2. Got the corner too with that fastball.
Tell you what, 3-1 looking dead red. That right there is not a fastball I'm necessarily looking to do anything with. You take it because you swing at it, you're liable to cue it off the end of the bat. You're not going to do much with it. Now you put yourself in a position 3-2. You've got to continue to stay the same way. Just got to battle a little bit more and protect, but you stay hard.
3-2, 2 outs. Kimbrel rocks and fires. That's the ball game. What a comeback for the West squad. They kept chipping away. They were down 7-0, and those Arizona Fall Leaguers on the west side here of the valley, of the Phoenix area. A couple of teams in Peoria, the Javelinas, the Saguaros, and the surprise club, the home club, the Rafters, beat the East squad, the Phoenix Desert Dogs, Mesa Solar Sox, and the team in Scottsdale, the Scorpions. Oh, what a fun baseball game, Tony Clark, wasn't it?
You know, it was outstanding, and I tell you what, we didn't discuss it a whole lot during the game, but the umpires tonight, who are working themselves to the big leagues as well, did an outstanding job.
High fives all around. Certainly a reason to watch, a reason to visit. The Arizona Fall League on display tonight. Tony Clark, a fabulous job. Our entire MLB team. TV production crew, a great job as well. Don't forget, Victor Rojas will get together with Tony. And on November 21st from Scottsdale, Arizona, it's the Arizona Fall League Championship game. 2:30 p.m. Eastern. You're watching the MLB Network. My name is Darren Sutton. This has been my honor. Enjoy baseball year-round right here